My sticker on my hat is getting worn out. Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. So hopefully our internet's going to be better today. Last night everybody's internet was having issues, and this morning I was talking to Flying Eagle and said that Kaya Pruitt has a video out just a little bit ago. I don't normally play her, but he said play 35 minutes of it about the power the internet for the government. They've been having trouble with the internet this weekend. So, and everybody else seems to have it yesterday too. So, tomorrow's the first. And I got a lot of goods. Everything's coming out. So, I don't have nothing going on this whole week. So, I'll be on quite a bit. So, let's have my notification ready. And Mel has a clip tonight or a stream tonight at 8:30 Eastern time. So when I come on tonight, hopefully we'll have her video tonight because it's Sunday night Centel for her. And Lucy, hi mom. Harper, where you been? All right. Got a couple Canada videos too. No Billy Bean yet. Hey Terry, how you feeling today? Oh, we got a birthday, Carol. It's Carol's job to do the birthday song. That's your new job, Carol. Happy birthday. I hope you have a good day. We'll have two shows for you today, Terry. So, Carol, did you see that video that I sent you yesterday on that Nick Shirley video? Was that any good? That welcome, Terry. I hope you got dinner, a good dinner, and a good cake tonight. Hope your family brings you. So I'm trying to find my first video on that interview last night with Trump and Laura Trump. I got one video, and then there's another one. But I'm going to play the first one. I'm going to play is Carol. Carol State's making the news. And I guess there was a massive mill fire yesterday. That by you, Starfire? Okay, we'll be getting started here in a couple minutes here. We got 2 minutes here. Okay, later. Oh, lobster. You're being like KK. Lobster. I don't like lobster. Yuck. All right, it's steam time. Okay, so the first one's going to be Maryland news.
Boards, let's say brand.
As Maryland is facing questions about its financial direction, the state cut ties with Moody's, a major credit rating company.
This comes a year after they downgraded Maryland's credit rating. Fox 45's Jessica Babb shows us why some Republican lawmakers are slamming that decision.
Well, officials with Governor Wes Moore's office say that Maryland maintains one of the strongest credit ratings in the country. Republicans are pushing back, saying dropping Moody's doesn't solve the state's financial issues.
With a major shakeup, Maryland state officials are dropping Moody's a year after the company downgraded the state's bond rating and creditworthiness.
So they're firing Moody's essentially and trying to get somebody else to give them a different answer.
The state treasurer's office saying the state recently received ratings from other companies, including S&P, Fitch, and KBRA, earning a triple bond rating. In a statement, they say they partnered with a rating agency that better aligns and recognizes the strengths and stability Maryland brings to the market, which will be demonstrated at the bond sale next Wednesday. A decision Republican Senator Justin Reedy is blasting.
We've got to find a way to bring down the cost of living for working families and get government back under control. And this is Moody's is basically saying to us when they downgraded us, is like, your books are in trouble. It's the doctor saying, you need to go on a diet. And the Maryland Democrats don't want to go on a diet.
A spokesperson for Governor Wes Moore's office says Maryland maintains one of the strongest credit ratings in the country, with other companies reaffirming Maryland's AAA rating. They say the ratings agencies recognize Maryland's credit pledge, strong reserve, historically disciplined fiscal management, high income, highly educated workforce, and long record of paying our debts.
Moody's appears to have paid the price for daring to downgrade the state's debt rating, and they've been dropped from this next solicitation.
When the state needs to borrow money to finance infrastructure or other projects, they issue bonds, which investors can buy. The credit rating shows how safe the bonds are. Economist Anirban Basu says even without Moody's rating, residents could still see the impact.
As investors are smart, they understand what risk looks like. And just by dropping a ratings agency doesn't mean that all of a sudden investors don't know what's going on. They know that Moody's downgraded Maryland's debt for the first time in 52 years last year. And they know that Maryland's economic environment is actually worsening right now. And if anything, we're becoming a riskier proposition. And they're going to reflect that in the interest payments they demand to buy our debt. So we're going to be paying higher interest because of all of this.
Not to mention, it's coming at a time when affordability in Maryland is front and center.
Marylanders are already burdened by high cost of living and high taxes, and they're leaving the state, which means that fewer of us are left to finance the burden of government and the services it provides. And so, again, we have to turn this around.
In a statement from Governor Wes Moore's office, Governor Wes Moore recognizes that there are tough budget decisions ahead and says he will make them responsibly and in partnership with lawmakers. In Baltimore, Jessica Babb, Fox 45 News.
Can you really earn a degree without paying anything?
Yes, you can earn a degree at Maestro without paying anything. If you qualify, you...
Okay. Oh, they said that was a Maryland news there for you, Carol. I'm going to do a 2-clip interview from the last night. Okay, the first one's 10 minutes.
Obviously, I know it's top of mind for you. You have actually said you either want a good deal or no deal at all with Iran. Yeah. So what does a good deal look like for you?
Well, first of all, there's no deal that's good enough because the media will cover it. We're making a great deal. We're going to make it a great deal. Or we'll just go back and finish it off militarily. But this would go faster. It's probably better on a humane standpoint. There's something nice about it also. Save a lot of lives. Whether it's the other side or not, you save a lot of lives. But we're close to a very good deal. And if we can make it good, otherwise we just start up with the Department of War, as we call it. and it's been very successful. You saw Venezuela, it was a one-day win, and this is really a win already. We've defeated their military, essentially defeated their military. I would rather get a deal because we can open the strait immediately upon signing. The one guarantee that I have to have is that there will be no nuclear weapons. They've agreed to that. And it was very interesting. They originally said, we will not develop a nuclear weapon. I said, well, what happens if you buy a nuclear weapon? So now it says we will not develop or in any way purchase a military weapon. That's a big difference. So we're getting what we want slowly. Very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry. I'd like to say I'm in a hurry because, gasoline prices are going to come tumbling down. But if you're going to be in a hurry, you're not going to make a good deal. And slowly but surely, we're getting, I think, what we want. And if we don't get what we want, we're going to end it a different way.
So that's interesting because I think everyone has acknowledged that the United States has been in a defensive position against Iran. They've been aggressive to some extent, and we've been defensive. Is there a line that they would cross for you to go on the offensive again militarily?
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, I'm playing it out and we're going to see. And that's what I do. I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily. Look, they have no Navy. Every ship, they have 159 ships. Every one of them are at the bottom of the sea. Every single one. We take pictures of them. We have people going down taking pictures of hundreds of ships. Their Navy is totally gone, 100%. Their Air Force is totally gone, 100%. Their military, we've sort of left it alone because we think that their military is somewhat moderate. They have other people that aren't moderate. We've taken them out. We've taken different forms of leadership out. We've actually left their military alone. People would be surprised to hear that because mistakes have been made in wars where you wipe out everybody and then you have a country that's, for 40 years can never rebuild. You look at what happened with Iraq. We did so bad. That was such a foolish thing, what we did. Shouldn't have been there in the first place, by the way. And shouldn't have been in Iran. But Iran has the capability. If we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers 9 months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon right now, and it would be a whole different story. Probably would have used it. You probably wouldn't have had you wouldn't have had Israel, but you probably wouldn't have had a Middle East. And then where do they go from there? And you get to see that when you see that when we went back, they had missiles aimed at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain. They all got hit. And we were surprised. I was surprised. Actually, I viewed it as a positive because all those people came immediately to our side. They got hit. Now, they could have taken another view. They could have said, well, we want no part of it. Not that they like it, but they came to our side. And Iran is in a very bad position. They have no military. All they have is good talk, and they have a fake press. The fake news is probably their biggest asset. And I put something out on Truth the other day that I think was very profound. It said that we wipe out their military, we wipe out their Navy, their Air Force, their anti-aircraft, we wipe out everything, we wipe out their leadership, and then we wipe out their leadership a second time. And then at 2.5 times, we're dealing with the other half. And by the way, they're much more reasonable, and you could say that's regime change. But I said, so they would then raise the white flag of surrender. We give up to the great American military, the most powerful military. We give up, we give up, we give up. The New York Times would say, Iran has fought bravely and has defeated the United States of America. I mean, the coverage is so bad. You have a big win in a battle, and they say you lost. You knock out their entire Navy, and they say their Navy's doing fantastically. No, it was defeated, totally defeated. And they say, it's just a terrible thing for our country. And, to really be great, you need a fair media. And we don't have a fair media. I mean, that's all they can do is lie.
Well, that's
they
the
have
Democrats.
No policy.
They have nothing to go on.
They're Democrats, okay? Yeah. They have no policy. We have a new name for them, Democrats. I call them, I will always call them until they straighten up, Democrats, because they want women to be put in danger by having men play in women's sports. Think of it. They want the transgender mutilization of your children. They want open borders. We want open borders. They want high taxes. They voted against the tax cuts. They voted against no taxes on tips. They voted against no taxes on Social Security. They voted against no taxes on overtime. These have been so important. But the Democrats voted against all of that. But we call them Democrats, and it works out well because I take the word dumb, take the B off, because most people don't know that, dumb ends with a B, but most people don't know. And all I do is I switch the E with a U, and you have a Democrat. And I came up with that by watching Hakeem Jeffries, because he's a dumb person. And I said, he's really dumb. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. So I think it works. I don't know that it's going to be as good as Pocahontas or fake news or so many of the others that we've come up with. But I'm going to just call them Democrats, because I don't understand how they can be so stupid.
I'd imagine if you could have timed things perfectly, having a conflict just in front of the midterm elections at a time like this isn't ideal. You acknowledge the high gas prices. You have consistently been willing to do the hard things, the things that your predecessor said should have been done, but they didn't have the guts to do them. You have taken them on, and Iran is a great example of that.
Well, you have a problem, a structural problem, because you have the midterms, you have the elections. Well, that's going to go on for hundreds of years, every 2 years. So you have really a very small window. So if you wanted to play that game, then you would wait till the midterms are over, and then the following hour, you'll attack Iran, because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Most people agree with me on that. But then it gets maybe carried into, the next election, whether it's a midterm or not. So you have a very short window for doing anything having to do with war. But I don't view that window. I view it, I have to do what's right. When I attacked Venezuela, it was really, I was hit hard. Now, I did that because of what they've done to our country in terms of sending prisoners in and drugs in and all the other stuff. We have drugs down 97%, fentanyl and various drugs down 97% on drugs coming in by water. Now we're starting the land, and it's going to be it's actually easier. The land is much easier. The drug boats that are, for the most part, no longer with us. In fact, the 3%, we're trying to figure out who would do that. I mean, they obviously don't watch television or don't watch the news. But that was very unpopular. As soon as I won, it became unbelievably popular. Well, we're winning Iran. It's a total win for us. I mean, we had to do it. Look, two things with Iran. Number one, the strait has to be opened immediately and has to be free, no tolls, et cetera, et cetera. And number two is they can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all there is. It's very simple. And then we're going to get out of there. And we don't need the strait. We don't need it because we have more. So we produce now, because of us, we produce more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined ×2. Think of that. We're double what they do. Add Saudi Arabia and Russia, multiply it ×2. And we're going to be much higher. We're the oil superpower, far greater than even Saudi Arabia, even Russia. But you add them up. These are two big monsters. You add them up, and we double it. We have a great country. We've had tremendous success. We have done things that are unbelievable. And I have tremendous support from Republicans. I mean, I never get support from Democrats. It's a different world than it was. It used to be they'd get together, they'd have lunch, they'd fight a little bit, they'd have bipartisan. I'm not sure that's possible because everything's so different. I want closed borders. I want people coming in legally. They want open borders. They want every criminal in the world to pour into our country. There are 25 million people, many of whom were criminals. 11,888 were murderers. Most of them committed more than one murder. I don't want them in our country. I'm sorry. And, so there are things like transgender mutilization of your children. They want that. They want men to play in women's sports. They want all these things. So I don't know. People say, can you ever get together? I don't know. I mean, the policies are so different. I want borders. They don't want borders. They want to get rid of, they want to get rid of your Second Amendment. I have to protect the Second Amendment. Then I have protected it. But we've done a lot. We've done really a lot. And more people are working in the United States right now than at any time ever before. We have more people working. We have $18 trillion, as you've heard many times. I say it all the time. Now, I haven't included the 12th month, but for 11 months, we have 18 trillion with a T, coming into our country. Biden in 4 years had a lot less than 1 trillion. And I will say this, if they won this election, I don't think we'd have a country anymore.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest.
Okay, I got a second one. Oh, here's a photo, you guys. I got a photo also here. June 14th will be amazing. What do you guys think? Interesting there.
All right, now let's check out what we got.
6 minutes here.
The main event here.
See the people working on the White House walls.
Constant work going on around here. Construction.
Yeah, well, it's going to be.
Cranes.
When I leave, this will be in the best shape it's ever been in.
And this is far more than a ballroom. Like you said, this goes down.
This is a massive
6
complex.
stories.
Yep. This is a massive complex and very much related to the military, very much related to Secret Service.
And what is our projected end date here?
Well, we'll have this. I'll have this. Actually, the funny thing is that from the standpoint of usage, other presidents will have it for 200 years. I'll have it for about 6 months. In other words, when it's finished, I'll only have it for I'll only have the use of it for 6 months. It's a great facility, and we're going to have the inauguration here.
Oh, wow.
We'll have the inauguration here. It's going to hold, like I had mine in the Capitol. In the Capitol, I had 902 people. And it was still beautiful, but it was 902 people, and it's not safe like this. This would be totally safe. I'm going to look over here anyway because I want to see what's happening. Pretty good, fellas, huh?
Well, the best part is this is what you used to do as a developer.
This is what I did.
You love going
I
on
did this
construction
better than
sites.
anybody. Although your man is very good.
He's
Eric,
not bad.
I have to say, Eric Trump is a really good builder.
Yeah.
He has the gene.
Yep.
He has a gene that I have. I have my gene, and Eric really has it. He's done a great job. He's a fantastic builder. He looked at this, understood it immediately.
That's
Look at the pipes. Look at the amount of rebar in there. That's not a normal situation, is what I'm saying. This is not what you do for a normal floor. Look at that. It's all rebar.
Now, how often are you coming out here to check the progress?
Well, a lot.
Yeah.
But I can also check it right from the windows.
That's
pretty
great.
good. This is all
Main floor right
military.
here. But we're standing on what'll be kind of the ground floor of the ballroom.
This will be the kitchen floor.
Oh, the kitchen, and then the floor above. There'll be one above that.
And then you have the drone ports, and you have the sniper ports, and you have everything above.
Wow.
It's
Can't
all
wait.
one unified unit. Yeah, it's really.
We can't wait to see.
It's going to be great. I love to watch it. So this room was falling apart, falling down. It was done by Jackie O. The tiles were all broken. The wall was literally falling down. It's called the Palm Room, done by Jackie Onassis. We put new chandeliers up, but we fixed the whole room. And the final touch was the marble. And see, it's book matched perfectly. You don't see that. It's a perfect book match.
It's night and day in this room from what it was before. It's beautiful. I know, that's very
We
impressive.
I had a metal piece. It's the marble guy said,
No, that's much better.
oh, I can book match that. Look, he cut it out of the marble.
That's impressive.
As opposed to having a piece of metal,
Yeah.
right? So this is the Presidential Walk of Fame, George Washington. You have all the presidents down to myself. And this is a brass plaque. The Rose Garden was created over a century ago. In 1903, First Lady Edith Roosevelt established a colonial-style garden along the West Colonnade, West Wing, just outside of the all-powerful Cabinet Room, which is over there. So this is a history of it. I did this. And this is a plaque. Now, most people would put brass on top of a piece of wood. It would be called laminated. And then in about 2 years, you'd see the brass falling on the floor. You know, we'll delaminate. This is, look.
So you're here,
solid brass. Same thing with this.
Got a video
This is
played
all
next
solid,
after this
beautiful, solid brass.
interview
And
about the
this
Washington
is
fire.
all the presidents.
yesterday.
And then we make the turn for future presidents. They make the turn.
Is
they
that
go
by
up.
you?
This granite was just put, the floor was badly broken. It was slate. Slate's not a good flooring material to start off with. And oh, you haven't seen this yet, have you?
No, this is first time I've seen the whole thing done. You were finishing it last time.
It's highly polished.
It looks beautiful.
And this is now black and white, goes together. Great.
Yes.
Always black and white is a good combination.
I think I told you I like the darker on here.
And this is all granite. This is This stone can last 1,000,000 years. It's the
And
highest.
it's already
rating.
easier to walk on than what was here
It's
before.
great. Well, the other was broken.
But I think we got to acknowledge everyone's favorite one.
Well, you have Barack Hussein Obama, who's, we give a description, and you have the guy with the auto pen.
So these two are definitely favorites. This one gets a lot of attention, though.
I'll move over here. So this one is Sleepy Joe Biden, and that's the auto pen, and we use that because he signed almost everything with an auto pen. He didn't sign it himself because he wasn't capable enough to do it. And it's a disgrace that could have happened to our country.
Absolutely.
A real disgrace. So we talk about it here, and here's your new walkway right here. It's just opened last week, actually. And I replaced the stone because the stone was literally all broken.
Yeah.
And if they walk to the Oval Office and the West Wing, this leads to the West Wing, and they're walking on broken stone. So
It looks
good.
great.
Come on inside. I'll take you inside.
You guys hear that?
And we finish
Calvin
off at the
Moon?
Oval Office, which
Not
is
bad.
the most
be
powerful
it.
office anywhere in the world. People walk in, even the King and Queen of UK, the United Kingdom. King Charles walked in last week with his great wife. She's terrific, Camilla. And she looked and she
you're
said,
in the
"Oh, this is
woods."
the Oval Office." And, you know, they have Buckingham Palace and
Case
places,
still hasn't
but
showed up yet.
the most powerful room in the world right here.
Okay, that was the interview from last night. That was a good one there. Now there was a fire. I don't know if it was Washington State or something. Barely see it. Anybody know where that one is? Oh. Sorry about that, you guys. Thanks for sharing that. Let me know on that Starfire. I didn't know that was 25.
We're back now with a concerning story out of Northern Virginia. 7 News has learned that the man at the center of a sexual assault investigation in Arlington was in Fairfax County custody 3 days prior, yet was released.
And the Department of Homeland Security tells us he is an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador. Reporter Liana Golden is live this morning. And Liana, you've been digging into his lengthy criminal history.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, those court records showed me that he was arrested on May 19th in Fairfax County on 5 charges, including a felony. But only 3 days later, he was back on the street and allegedly assaulted a woman. So this is just a really concerning, a disturbing situation that we're telling you about this morning. Take a look here. The suspect on your screen, 25-year-old Cristobal Vasquez Sanchez. Arlington police say he inappropriately approached a woman in a parking garage stairwell about 10 days ago. Another person was there to step in and help her, and then he ran away before investigators found and arrested him 3 days later. So here's a look at his record I mentioned. I found 26 different charges total across Fairfax and Arlington from other assaults to drug possessions and property damage, just to name a few. The most recent was 3 days before this alleged Arlington assault, where he was arrested for assault on an officer, which is a felony charge, but he was freed from custody, released on recognizance. So 7 News also learned yesterday that he is undocumented, and ICE had issued a detainer that Fairfax County officials did not honor. Here's what DHS told us. Sanctuary politicians released this criminal from jail back into Virginia communities. Vasquez Sanchez then went on to rack up charges for rape and sexual assault. Now, you will remember that Commonwealth's attorney Steve Descano and Sheriff Stacey Kincaid were both grilled on Capitol Hill a few weeks ago for their so-called sanctuary policies. Descano is also at the center of a DOJ investigation for those very same prosecution policies. So we have reached out to both of their offices with many questions about this case. Of course, we'll keep you posted. This man is currently in Arlington custody, and he's waiting for his next hearing on July 7th. For now, reporting live, I'm Liana Golden.
All right, that's another one, you guys. Okay, here's one, 9 minutes. I'm not sure if we let you know on this one, you guys. 9 minutes. Go ahead.
Do they really know the real purpose of it? Obviously not, because I don't hear anybody talking about its real purpose. Digital ID is about control so they can harm you. And that's why you have to refuse it at every point. Spoke to someone the other day, the insurer wants them to do this, go through this whole digital ID thing, and they've refused. Now, you've got to remember, license and all the rest, we have to deleverage ourselves from the system. They are planning your demise. They're planning to harm you. They're planning to do you mischief. And that's the thing nobody's talking about this. They're talking about what's about personal information. They're not talking about the real purpose, which is your demise. Okay, that's the really important thing. Now, digital twins, right? Microsoft involved in the whole thing, obviously through their Azure AI operating platform, where they're going to create this mirrored reality. Okay, that's why they need the big data centers that are capturing all of the digital twin and putting it in the data center. What they're going to do once they do that, well, we'll explain later on. The digital twin development and the AI developments, all military or what you could call interdimensional demonic forces. It's all about defense. It's all about military applications, okay? That's what the digital twin's all about. It's so you can predict on the battlefield, and this is an assisted AI, because the battlefield, unfortunately, is now your towns and villages. We're getting a lot of people removing the weapons, electronic assault weapons that were discovered, and the more of that, the better, because we've got to go on the front foot. There's got to be an offense against this weaponry, okay? The digital twins, how they create this elucidation of the battlefield is by using laser detection range and radar type technologies, highly dangerous technologies, and AI controlling the whole thing. So tactical networks, battlefield derived. So the equipment that we're seeing on towns, villages, city streets, all battlefield derived weaponry, okay? Personalized digital biomarkers in the vaccine, well, we know about that. We know about the nanometamaterials and the lanthanides. Now, what they do, they assist the sickness, the deliberate sickness that can be caused through wearable sensors. So let's say tags. So where they're tagging people as part of a judicial system, they're extremely dangerous. They're very close to the body. All of these smartphones, etc., all part of this digital twin technology, and the injectable itself, due to the elucidation from the nanoparticulates, the lanthanides in particular. Now, they keep talking about wearable sensors. You can sense people at a distance, right? Unfortunately, if they've had these biomarkers, okay, these biomarkers that we now know were in all of the injectables, because it is a track, trace, termination technology. As I stated from the very get-go, before we even had the the spectrum analysis of what was actually in them. Now, it's all about medical. Well, we know where that came from. The Third Reich were big into medical interventions and euthanasia. And unfortunately, once they get this whole digital twin system up and running, well, unfortunately, it's going to be euthanasia for an awful lot of unsuspecting people. One of the things that are required for digital twinning, like obviously RF signals, as we spoke before about what's on the battlefield, the radar, the LiDAR, laser detection ranging, so that they can identify and create this digital map. However, when we've looked at the actualities of the hardware,
okay, you guys?
It's not for sensing, they're not motion sensors. The digital twin, like I said before, it requires the laser detection ranging, which we've discovered. Transport infrastructures, here's one. So you've got this adaptive network that's been deployed across London. They've denied the existence of the laser detection and the radar in particular, but we've now got an admission that it does exist. Okay, network adaptive, all sounds pretty straightforward. You know, most of the people involved in this will have no idea what its real purpose is, and its main purpose to optimize an object-based digital twin. So tracking people, prioritizing pedestrians, large numbers of pedestrians at pedestrian crossings, etc., prioritizing numbers of people in vehicles. So passenger vehicles with more passengers, because they can look inside the vehicles and actually tie into the onboard management systems of the vehicles. I mean, this technology is so much more advanced than most people's, you know, it's well beyond most people's comprehension. And that's the purpose. The reason why they're doing it is because you're having difficulty to comprehend what's being said here. This year's a 48 NIR transcranial scanner. So it's looking into the neurological systems, and then you've got the phased array. Now, this is the weapon. So that's the weapon, and this is a laser weapon. This is a stereoscopic vision engine, and it's got 24 Cat4 lasers in the front, okay? You can see them flashing off here. That would be really dangerous. Anyone, you can't see them, obviously, unless you use special optics, because they're operating the non-visible spectrum, as you can see them flashing off there. The stereoscopic scanner, what you've just seen on the left of that previous picture, it's got 48 NIR. Right? These are transcranial,
2 minutes.
And there's a lot of computing capability in here. Why, you may ask? This is all for 3D mapping, all part of this build out of the digital twin. What's really going on, what its real purpose is, we know that sensors, any type of sensor network can initiate a cardiac arrest or neurological injury or stroke and several other covert electromagnetic radiation symptoms. And one of the reasons why doctors have never been taught about these effects from electromagnetic radiation. Military know about it, defense industry well known about it for a long, long time, but your GP hasn't been taught anything about it. Very, very few in the world. The reason for that is it's so that they don't realize the actual danger. So when people have a heart attack walking across the road, they don't immediately go, well, hang on a minute, we need to check the localized sensors. One guy who I know who was spoke to just a few months ago, he had a number of these transmitters in and around his environment, and unfortunately now he's dead. Okay, so you have to remember how dangerous these are. Well documented. That can cause a cancellation wave to the heart. That can cause immediate death. That can cause stroke. So these weapons, as your government will tell you, perfectly safe, just like the safe and effective bioweapons technology. Please share far and wide. Please get involved. We have to remove this technology from your street furniture before it kills you. This is a weaponized system. It's the transport weaponization, right, networks. And believe you me, They are planning your murder. All of this has been put in covertly. It is illegal, and we have a defense to defend ourselves from these electronic assault weapons. God bless everybody. Share far and wide.
I hope that one was okay. So my next big one is going to be 28. I think I never played it, but it's important, I hope. It looked like it was a good video. Then after that one, we'll do a couple Benny videos, and then 35-minute Dr. Kaya video. Well, let me know about this one coming up here.
Banks to control the issue of their money, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of their property until their children will wake up homeless. Thomas Jefferson. Following is a timeline demonstrating when and how a private central banking cartel got control of the government, the people, and the assets of the United States. Each fact is supported by official sources. Source documents are available at www.anticorruptionsociety.com under the tab Source Documents. 1913. With the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, a private foreign banking cartel was made the fiscal agent of the United States. Source document, Representative McFadden, Congressional Record, June 1932. From the website of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Quote, the entry of the United States into World War I added to the responsibilities of the young Federal Reserve Bank. It helped finance U.S. military expenditures by becoming the fiscal agent of the federal government. 1920, Congress handed the U.S. Treasury over to the same private banking cartel via the Independent Treasury Act. Source document, Independent Treasury Act, 1920. 1921, the Council on Foreign Relations was founded to direct the media. Paul Warburg was its first director. Warburg also drafted the Federal Reserve Act and became the Fed's first governor. Paul Warburg was an agent for the Rothschilds banking dynasty. 1925, the United States Corporation Company was chartered in perpetuity in Florida by its fiscal agent. Source document, Articles of Incorporation, United States Corporation Company. This company was created without the approval of Congress, nor the knowledge and authority of the American people. Note, in 1925, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York had offices on Cedar Street and on Broadway, both cited in the Articles of Incorporation. Source document, Articles of Incorporation, United States Corporation Company. The United States Corporation Company created a maximum of 100 shares of stock. Source document, Articles of Incorporation, United States Corporation Company. The Articles of Incorporation revealed the names of 3 individuals who held only 5 shares. The other shareholders were not identified. 1920s. The U.S. Treasury was raided by the private Federal Reserve Bank, who then caused the Great Depression and bankrupted the United States Corporation Company.
How many
Source document, Representative Lewis McFadden. Congressional Record, June 1932. 1933, a state of emergency was claimed and Congress gave the president unconstitutional emergency powers. Source document, Congressional Record, March 1933. On behalf of the private Federal Reserve, President Roosevelt confiscated the people's gold and forced all to use the Federal Reserve notes from then on. Source document, Congressional Record, March 1933. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation. Therefore, their notes are privately owned currency. The people and the property of the United States was hypothecated and placed unlawfully in a public trust. Source document, Representative Trafficant, Congressional Record, March 1993. Hypothecate means to pledge as security without delivery of possession. 1933. The Internal Revenue Service was chartered in Delaware as a private corporation. It is not a division of the U.S. Treasury. Source document, Internal Revenue Service Corporate Charter, 1933. The United States is a private corporation with unnamed stockholders. A private corporation is its fiscal agent. A private corporation owns and circulates the currency we are forced to use. A private corporation expects us to pay them taxes. The U.S. CEO, the President, has maintained unconstitutional emergency powers for the past 80 years. Source document, Senate Report 93549 and Continuation of the National Emergency 2012-2013. Quote, all United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status in name only under emergency war powers, with the constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved. Source document, Representative Trafficant, Congressional Record, March 1993. Today, as has been demonstrated, the United States is just a corporate franchised network represented by their all-caps names, such as State of Ohio. Corporate statutes have replaced laws. A corporate statute is a rule of a corporation given the force of law by the consent of the parties. This consent generally requires a signed contract. From Judge Dale, author of The Great American Adventure, page 102, quote, the federal and state governments are not real. They are privately owned corporations called governments, and the law is nothing more than their corporate regulations called statutes, unquote. As corporations have no souls to save nor bodies to incarcerate, they are just dead legal structures. A dead legal structure cannot represent living people nor obligate living people to laws. Therefore, a corporation cannot be a sovereign government. It can only be a legal structure for commercial contracts, which is all the so-called United States government franchise network is. From Judge Dale's The Great American Adventure, page 10, quote, all of this deception is compounded by the refusal of ordinary Americans to realize, know, or understand that it is this secrecy and duplicity of privately owned corporations being surreptitiously portrayed as American agencies and government that they have come together to fleece the American people. For more information, read Judge Dale's The Great American Adventure. Free online at anticorruptionsociety.com.
Okay, thanks, Lucy.
Page 1, Articles of Incorporation, filed 7/15/25, 7 pages. Page 2, Certificate of Incorporation of United States Corporation Company, filed in Office Secretary of State of the State of Florida this 15th day of July, A.D. 1925. Signed by H. Clay Crawford, Secretary of State. United States Corporation Company, Dover, Chicago, Albany, St. Louis, Jersey City, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. International Corporation Company, Rue de la Paix, Paris. Executive Office, 65 Cedar Street, New York City. Page 3. Received July 15, 1925, State of Florida. Certificate of Incorporation of United States Corporation Company. Number 1. The name of the corporation is United States Corporation Company. Number 2. The nature of the business and the objects and purposes proposed to be transacted, promoted, or carried on by the corporation are as follows. To prepare or cause to be prepared and procure to be filed, recorded, registered, published, issued, or granted in accordance with law, articles or certificates of incorporation, applications for letter patent, charters, and other instruments relating to the incorporation and organization of corporations and joint stock companies. To prepare or cause to be prepared and procured to be filed, recorded, registered, published, issued, or granted, certificates, reports, statements, applications for licenses to do business, or other instruments in relation to domestic and foreign corporations, companies, or associations. To provide and maintain domiciliary and other offices and facilities for corporations, companies, and associations, and to act as agent in charge thereof, and upon whom process against or any official notices to any such corporation, company, or association may be served or given, and for any other lawful purpose. To act as the fiscal or transfer agent of or registrar of the stock or securities issued by any public or private corporation, and in such capacity to receive and disperse money.
Almost
Page
15
4.
minutes left.
To transfer, register, countersign, issue, and deliver certificates of stocks, bonds, or other evidences of indebtedness, and to act as agent of any corporation, foreign or domestic, for any lawful purpose. To carry on the business of an appraisal and audit company, and in connection therewith, to make examinations and appraisals of the business and property of corporations and individuals, to examine and audit their books and accounts, and to make reports and certificates in respect thereof. To publish and deal in books, periodicals, pamphlets, legal forms, and blanks of all kinds. To acquire by purchase or otherwise, and to hold for investment or otherwise, to use, sell, lease, or dispose of real estate and real property, and any interest, estate, or rights therein. To acquire by purchase, subscription, or otherwise, and to hold for investment or otherwise, and to use, sell, or dispose of shares of stock, bonds, or any other obligations or securities of any corporation, domestic or foreign. To aid in any manner any corporation whose shares of stock, bonds, or other obligations are held, or in any manner guaranteed by the company, or in which the company is in any way interested. And to do any other acts or things for the preservation, protection, improvement, or enhancement of the value of any such shares of stock, bonds, or other obligations, or to do any acts or things designed for any such purpose. And while owner of any such shares of stock, bonds, or other obligations, to exercise all the rights, powers, and privileges of ownership thereof, and to exercise any and all voting powers thereon. To acquire by purchase or otherwise, and to hold, own, use, grant licenses in respect to or otherwise turn to, account or dispose of any copyrights, trademarks, inventions, patent rights, and letters patent of the United States or of any other country. The business of the corporation is from time to time to do any one or more of the acts and things herein set forth, and it may conduct business in the state of Florida, other states, the District of Columbia, the territories and colonies of the United States, and in foreign countries, have one or more offices out of the state of Florida, and hold, purchase, mortgage, and convey real and personal property with or without of the state of Florida. Number 3, the maximum number of shares which this corporation is authorized to have outstanding at any one time is 100, each of which shares shall have a par value of $100. Number 4, the amount of capital with which the corporation will begin business is $500. Number 5, the corporation is to have perpetual existence. Number 6, the principal office of the corporation shall be located in the Centennial Building, Tallahassee, Leon County. Number 7, the number of directors shall be 3. Number 8, the names of the directors who shall hold office for the first year of the corporation's existence, or until their successors are elected and have qualified, and their post office addresses are as follows. Page 6. Gary O'Coglin, 150 Broadway, New York, New York. Samuel B. Howard, 150 Broadway, New York, New York. Arthur W. Britton, 150 Broadway, New York, New York. Number 9, the names and post office addresses of the subscribers of this certificate and the number of shares of stock which each agrees to take are as follows. Louis B. Gunther, 150 Broadway, New York, New York, 2 shares. Samuel B. Howard, 150 Broadway, New York, New York, 2 shares. Arthur W. Britton, 150 Broadway, New York, New York, 1 share. Number 10, the directors and stockholders shall have power to hold their meetings and to have one or more offices and to keep the books of the corporation, except the original or duplicate stock ledger, outside of the state of Florida, at such place or places as from time to time may be designated by the bylaws or by resolution of the board. The directors shall have power, without the assent or vote of the stockholders, to make and alter bylaws of the corporation, to fix the times for the declaration and payment of dividends, and to fix and vary the amount to be reserved as working capital, to determine the use and disposition of any surplus or net profits over and above the capital stock paid in, and in their discretion, the directors may use and apply any such surplus or accumulated profits in purchasing or acquiring the bonds or other obligations or shares of the capital stock of the corporation to such an extent and in such manner and upon such terms as the directors shall deem expedient. But shares of such capital stock so purchased or acquired may be resold unless such shares shall have been retired for the purposes of decreasing the corporation's capital stock as provided by law. Page 7. We, the undersigned, being each of the original subscribers to capital stock herein before named, do hereby associate for the purpose of establishing a corporation pursuant to the Corporation Law, State of Florida, 1925. Witness our hands and seals the 7th day of July, 1925. Louis H. Gunther, Samuel B. Howard, Arthur W. Britton. In presence of Samuel G. Wood, as to all. State of New York, County of New York, July 7th AD, 1925, personally appeared before me, a notary public, in and for New York County, duly authorized to take acknowledgments. Louis H. Gunther, Samuel B. Howard, and Arthur W. Britton, to me known and known to me to be the persons described in and who executed the foregoing instruments.
Yeah, we got
who
eight
each
more minutes,
acknowledged to
guys.
me that he
8 minutes.
executed the same
Very
freely
important video.
and voluntarily as and for his act and deed for the uses and purposes therein expressed. Witness my hand and official seal the day and year in this certificate first above written at New York County, New York. Samuel G. Wood, Notary Public. My commission expires March 30th, 1927. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their money, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of their property until their children will wake up homeless. Thomas Jefferson. Following is a timeline demonstrating when and how a private central banking cartel got control of the people and the assets of the United States. Each fact is supported by official sources. Source documents, SD, are available at www.anticorruptionsociety.com under the tab Source Documents. 1913. With the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, a private foreign banking cartel was made the fiscal agent of the United States. Source document, Representative McFadden, Congressional Record, June 1932. From the website of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, quote, the entry of the United States into World War I added to the responsibilities of the young Federal Reserve Bank. It helped finance U.S. military expenditures by becoming the fiscal agent of the federal government. (1920) Congress handed the U.S. Treasury over to the same private banking cartel via the Independent Treasury Act. Source document, Independent Treasury Act, 1920. 1921. The Council on Foreign Relations was founded to direct the media. Paul Warburg was its first director. Warburg also drafted the Federal Reserve Act and became the Fed's first governor. Paul Warburg was an agent for the foreign Rothschild banking dynasty. 1925. The United States Corporation Company was chartered in Florida by its fiscal agent. Source document, Articles of Incorporation, United States Corporation Company, 1925. This company was created without the approval of Congress nor the knowledge and authority of the American people. Note, in 1925, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York had offices on Cedar Street and on Broadway, both cited in the Articles of Incorporation. Source document, Articles of Incorporation, United States Corporation Company, 1925. 1920s. The U.S. Treasury was raided by the private Federal Reserve bankers, who then caused the Great Depression and bankrupted the United States Corporation Company. Source document, Representative McFadden, Congressional Record, June 1932. 1933. A state of emergency was claimed, and Congress gave the President unconstitutional emergency powers. Source document, Congressional Record, March 1933. On behalf of the private Federal Reserve, President Roosevelt confiscated the people's gold and forced all to use their private currency, the Federal Reserve note, from then on. Source document, Congressional Record, March 1933. The property and the people of the United States was hypothecated and placed unlawfully in a public trust. Source document, Representative Trafficant, Congressional Record, March 1993. The Internal Revenue Service was chartered in Delaware as a private corporation. It is not a division of the U.S. Treasury. Source document, Internal Revenue Service Corporate Charter, 1933. The U.S. President, CEO, has maintained unconstitutional dictatorial emergency power for the last 80 years. Source documents, Senate Report 93549, 1973, and Continuation of the National Emergency, 2012-2013. Today, as has been demonstrated, the United States is just a corporate franchised network represented by their all-cap names, such as State of Ohio. Corporate statutes have replaced laws. A corporate statute is a rule of a corporation given the force of law by the consent of the people. This consent generally requires a signed contract. As corporations have no souls to save nor bodies to incarcerate, they are just dead legal structures. A dead legal structure cannot represent living people nor obligate them to laws. Therefore, a corporation cannot be a sovereign government. It can only be a legal structure for commercial contracts, which is all the so-called United States government franchise network is. From Judge Dale's The Great American Adventure, page 10, quote, all of this deception is compounded by the refusal of ordinary Americans to realize, know, or understand that it is this secrecy and duplicity of privately owned corporations being surreptitiously, falsely, portrayed as American agencies and government that have come together to fleece the American people. For more information, read Judge Dale's The Great American Adventure, Secrets of America, free online at anticorruptionsociety.com.
Okay, you guys, we made it. Just about 20 seconds here. Well, I hope that one was a big one there. And how's it going, Kush? Happy Sunday. Thanks for coming in. Hope everything's good. So I got Trisha just came out with a new one. Then I'm going to do Benny's one. And then I'll do the one on Dr. Pruitt. We just came out with this one.
So it's like chat.
This guy is on a roll. You know why? Because he talks common sense. And like 40% of LA is not even decided. I think they're terrified to tell pollsters who they're really voting for. It's like the shy Trump voter all over again. But here's the most recent poll. Look at him climbing there. Nice, nice, nice. This is Berkeley Ipsos poll. Is that right? Berkeley, it's hard to see here. IGS poll. And Karen Bass is in the lead. And Rahman is right behind her. Now, I want to point out that you have to get 50%. Okay, you have to get 50% on election day, which is just a couple of days. It's like hours away at this point. You have to get 50%. If you don't get 50%, then you go to a runoff, which is held in November. And so the question is it Karen and Rahman, or is it Karen and Spencer? And I think it's going to be Karen and Spencer, because I think people are not telling you what they really are going to do on election day. They're just kind of afraid to do that. Here's something that's great. He put this one out on Twitter. She's been going after him saying, oh, he's just a reality star, just a reality star. When he was in his 20s, he was just busy doing, reality star stuff. And I was busy working hard for the working people. And he got her back. He said, when I was in my 20s, I was on a TV show. When Karen Bass was in her 20s, she was training in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare with communists in Cuba. back when the LA Times was still in LA and used to tell the truth. Woo! And then he has a little excerpt here from the LA Times saying, plaintiff Karen Bass, according to a 1973 intelligence document provided to the Times, traveled to Cuba with the 6th contingent of the Venceremos Brigade. The brigade trains revolutionary pro-Americans in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare while claiming to harvest sugarcane. Bass, she characterized herself as one of the leaders. She returned from Cuba to the USA, bringing back propaganda literature, the document noted without citing the source of this information. This is from an article there in the Times from LA that he cited and put out on Twitter, 1983. Woo. Like, that might just do it. Because, you know, I got to say, like, I look at the motivation of these people. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You really want to turn us into Cuba? You want to turn LA into Havana, lady? I mean, it might as well already be. You look around and it's one ugly sight. It's bad, guys. It's bad. And you know what? You get all the homeless on the street. You get, unfortunately, oh gosh, do we have this soundbite for you? I think we do. And this is the people that they talk to. Someone on Fox actually went out and did a whole bunch of MOSs with people, and they were talking to them about, you know, what they wanted to see there in, I'm going to call it Little Havana, because that's certainly how it feels. And they were pretty upfront about it. They're like, this is one gross, awful place, one gross, awful place. And they said, you know what, we're going to actually vote for, wait for it, for Pratt, right? They're voting for Pratt because they feel like he's the only guy that can clean it up. We're going to go first to Spencer Pratt, who talked about what he intends to do in his first 3 weeks in office. And I think he's going to get it. Watch.
First 3 weeks, signs up across the city. No more nakedness. No more drug use. No more robbing. No more
burning dogs in the street.
No more dog abuse. Very on every sign, on every word, so that, and we're going to go around, we're going to warn everybody, hey, got 3 more weeks of this, like, clock's ticking, just keep telling everyone, just so the people that are aware, they're like, oh, wow, there's a new mayor in town, they may start leaving. And then when the 3 weeks, or maybe we'll even do 2 weeks, maybe people will want it faster. And then once we start enforcing the laws, boom, streets will be back. You know who else I'm going to bring in? The CDC. Because there's medieval diseases in these encampments. They're not swabbing these encampments. They're not swabbing the streets. People are just living in feces and drug use and dogs burning and body. We need these streets cleaned.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So here's what I want to show you. People are so upset with what's going on. And they did this interview, if you would, with Fox, one of the people on Fox, and they let them have it.
What makes you angry about LA?
Kind of smell like but it's high.
Homeless on every corner.
LA isn't a city, it's a public toilet at this point.
I don't want to walk to my car and go, oops, I stepped in human feces.
Actually, I'm not angry about LA. There's traffic, but it's been like that forever.
There's homelessness, but it's been like that forever.
Yeah.
Poverty, period.
The potholes.
What is Mayor Bass doing to solve these problems?
No, I heard nothing. No change.
Nothing.
Still smell like I haven't seen none.
I wonder sometimes.
Who were you voting for?
Bass.
Right. Nothing that Bass has done, but you're going to vote for her.
I'm not even voting. Does it matter? It really doesn't matter.
Spencer Pratt. Spencer Pratt. We're going to have a Pratt Daddy summer, I'll tell you that.
He actually tells us the truth.
I think it can happen. I mean, I really do. I think a lot of people are not telling the pollsters who they're going to vote for because they're shy about this. And you've got the establishment that's just trying to put him down and put him down and put him down. How dare he come out and run for mayor? How dare he? How dare he put out these AI memes and this, that, and the other? And gosh, the guy's got over 1 million followers on Twitter now. How dare he? He's just a reality star. Listen to CNN freaking out over the idea that a Spencer Pratt could be mayor of LA.
We live in a time when I think the traditional politician, Karen Bass, came from a traditional background, you know, where she served in Congress. People want something different, and I think Spencer Pratt offers that. ultimately, if this goes to a runoff, that's where he faces a bigger challenge.
Yeah, and I don't want to overlook the things that are issues in LA, for example. As always, the conversation about crime always affects a mayor, right? There's the numbers versus the perception, how people feel. What do you see in this race?
I just think we've entered the era of the celebrity politician. And look, I think
But his messaging is the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole shebang. now.
Yeah, and going back to the founding of the country, we wanted leaders that came from the people and of the people. I don't know.
They're like, oh my gosh, how can this be? I mean, how can you possibly have a guy like Spencer Pratt who just actually...
I kept seeing people talk about these free phones from AirTalk, so I gave it a try, and they really delivered it to my...
is living the hell that most people in LA are living. I mean, don't forget why he got involved in politics. It was because his house burnt down and Karen Bass didn't care. No one cared. And she still hasn't done anything about the fires. And she still hasn't done anything about the homeless. And you got a real set of problems there in LA because ever since 2020, since George Floyd, guess what? They figure they don't have to actually police. That's the problem. Democrats are against the police. They want to defund the police. And believe me, that goes a long way towards what? Oh, I don't know. Increasing crime. It's not that hard. I keep saying this. Would anybody, please, anybody, show some common sense? This guy tries to talk a little common sense. He adds a little few facts and figures to really flesh out his argument there on CNN. And little Blondie, who's sitting next door to him, is like, oh, no, watch this. This is a good clip.
If you look at the trajectory of Los Angeles over the past 30 years, 80s, early 90s, crime and homelessness was incredibly high. Then starting about 1992 to 1994, both crime and homelessness begin to plummet for about 22 years. All of a sudden, it starts to tick up right around 2014 once again. Seems to serve our purpose is to go look at what worked during that period and what worked in the opposite direction to have it start ticking up again. And if you go speak with people in the district attorney's office, and these are people, they're Democrats, one, for instance, candidate for city attorney, John McKinney, African-American man who's been in the DA's office for over 35 years through
This is important. Listen to what he says.
many different waves of crime and homelessness in Los Angeles. He says, listen, people can tell themselves all the comforting delusions that they want about how people who are addicts, who have drug problems, who are homeless, how they solve that problem. A lot of these people, they got the treatment that they needed once they got arrested. Okay, you can sit there and say that, oh, we should just have them, cart them into treatment centers and they should get the help that they need without, any consequences for the criminal behavior that they're engaging in. That's not how it works, right? So these people, more likely, there's not an inalienable right to be able to live wherever you want in public spaces. And to say that the government, that the people of Los Angeles cannot regulate those public spaces. So to say that if you want the government's help, if you want resources that are paid by the public teat, by tax dollars, that you have to go to a certain area to get those services, I'm not seeing where there's anything wrong with that.
From a fiscal responsibility, even if you don't care about the humanitarian aspect, it is much easier and more cost effective to prevent people from falling into cycles of homelessness to begin with than to invest in over policing and incarceration and pipelines that leave people more traumatized when they exit.
Okay, well, we can look at experience and we can look at fiscal responsibility. And once again, these aren't things we have to speculate upon. We have.
You see, because I think if I'm hearing her right, she's got the typical liberal point of view that they never should have actually become addicted to anything to begin with, because you should have been spending piles of money on all these clinics and special mental health centers and this, that, and the other, and giving out handouts so as people don't come to that situation. Yeah, you know what? Here's what I would say. Let's reestablish the family unit, which Black Lives Matter wanted to destroy. Let's make sure that, people have something in their lives. Religion can be a really good thing, right? Let's make sure that there's some cohesiveness to society. But no, that's not what they're talking about. They just want more giveaways. And you know what happens to the giveaways? They go to Ilhan Omar's Somali district friends and, whoever's running those who knows what clinics off of Medicaid that you got in California. I mean, that money never gets spent in the right places.
Data points. We have the recent history to look back upon. Everybody forgets this. 2016, like I said, homelessness began to tick back up. 2014, 2015, 2016, they put it to the voters of Los Angeles. Let's pass Measure Triple H to fund $1.2 billion in homeless financing. That was supposed to go to building 10,000 units of homeless housing to get people into those houses. In about 6 years, how many out of the 10,000 units do you think they built? Barely over 1,000. Okay. During that period, while we blew through $1.2 billion, the homeless population doubled. So if we're looking at experience and fiscal responsibility, the people that are running this city, the people that were put in charge of that $1.2 billion, they clearly don't know what they're doing, and they're not using the money fiscally responsibly. In fact, they spent double as much to have the problem double in size.
He's good. He's really good. Anyway, so look, I think Spencer's going to get it. But do you guys agree? Like, I mean, I really do think that there's a lot of shy voters out there. They're not telling the pollsters what they're going to do. And so when it comes down to the top two, Raman and Karen Bass, no. I think Karen Bass, a lot of people, there's an advantage being an incumbent, and he's going to be able to take her on come fall. But I think what we're going to find out in LA, and this is going to be exciting because they're going to freak out and we're going to love it. He's going to pull it off. He's going to pull it off.
Okay, that's the first one on Trish. Now the first mini video.
Of the West, as the Eiffel Tower is encased in black smoke and surrounded by third world African invaders that were allowed to conquer the nation of France and its capital when many other civilized armies could not do so. A nation and city that survived 2 world wars in this century, now completely and totally conquered by the enemy, by those who wish to destroy it, those who have no connection to it, those who behave violently for the sake of violence, the demonic pleasure of destroying something that they didn't build and they don't understand, that their ancestors have no connection to, and therefore why not light it on fire? As they lit fires right here, the black smoke encasing the Eiffel Tower. You've never seen it like this. It is a cautionary tale for the rest of the West that things are about to get incredibly dangerous as you bring in unlimited numbers of refugees, migrants, and invaders from cultures that are incompatible with Western civilization. Things are about to get dangerous, and that's what we saw last night. Migrants attacking firemen with fireworks. They're attacking the firemen. They were commandeering emergency vehicles. They took over ambulances. This is exactly why the era of deportations has begun, saying members of parliament in Europe. But I fear that it's too late. Import the third world, become the third world, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen things get a little dangerous here in this country. And there's been a series of stories, and some ones that have been really quite terrifying, of passengers losing their minds or threatening to bomb airlines, planes. And we have a new situation, a hijacking that nearly happened in this country. A hijacking that actually did happen because a passenger tried to board a jet and then storm into the cockpit. I'll give you all the details of that. We've just been noticing a trend here. This from last month, Frontier Flight 2539 from Columbus to Atlanta just reported a passenger threatened to kill people on the plane and claimed to have a bomb on board. The plane was held at the gate, had to emergency land. Frontier labeled as a potential hijacking. Again, this is from last month. Frontier Airlines has been isolated in Atlanta for a level 3 threat and possibly here.
Frontier Flight 2539. Okay, Frontier Flight 2539 have information about the level 3 threat, not level 4 threat, but level 3 threat. I'd like to relay. Frontier 2539, Atlanta Tower, go ahead. A black male, approximately 5'9", sitting in seat 3 Alpha. He's in his seat. He's already threatened to kill the lady that's sitting next to him, and he's saying that he has a bomb on board.
That's the emergency call. Has a bomb on board, threatening to kill people on the plane. They called it a potential hijacking because, of course, the plane was hijacked. And, of course, that's not the only one. Terrifying scenes here from earlier in the month of a Southwest flight. Bomb threat on a Nashville flight. This is a different flight entirely. Terrifying video shows Southwest passengers dragged off flight for security threat. And you can see here who the individual was right here. Funny how we never found out what his name was. They never found out where he was from. But here we go, harrowing footage of a passenger being removed from a Southwest flight, Nashville to Fort Lauderdale. He said he threatened that he had a bomb on board. Bomb threat on the Nashville flight, and they had to bring special forces on in order to remove the passenger, who was a young Middle Eastern man. Again, we have no follow-up on any of this. Why? Not sure. Anyway, what I'm saying is that there is a trend, as a horrifying trend. Some are saying zero media coverage, share this everywhere, and deport, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go again. United flight from Chicago makes emergency landing as passenger tried multiple attempts to breach the cockpit. Air traffic control audio shows the struggle to restrain the individual, and the plane landed in Madison, Wisconsin. Get a load of this.
Speed up your best to your can. We got a emergency aircraft inbound. If you can, keep it as tight as possible. And it's actually a situation where we might have to close the airfield due to a potential hijack. So did you want to continue inbound to Madison or stay in tension?
Madison approach at a 2005 emergency aircraft passing 15-7 for 11,000.
2005 Madison approach, descend and maintain 4,000. And information, Mike is now current winds calm, altimeter 29er96, sky clear.
That is 2005, roger down to
No,
4,000.
not yet.
Yeah, 2005, expect vectors from the approach from a 3-6 unless you want a instrument approach.
No, vectors for the visual to 3-6 is fine.
So what's going on here? He says potential hijacking. United Airlines, bound for Minneapolis, had an emergency landing in Madison, Wisconsin after a passenger attempted to storm the cockpit multiple times. The flight, which took off from Chicago at 8 p.m., landed safely in Madison, Wisconsin. An unruly passenger. The flight landed in Madison's County Regional Airport 90 minutes after takeoff. While the United did not reveal the specific nature of the security concern, air traffic control reports that a passenger made multiple attempts to breach the cockpit. I do not believe they ever cuffed him, but they were able to finally get control of him after multiple attempts to breach the cockpit. I believe at this point they're seated and flanked by law enforcement on each side. The scanner audio from Dade County Sheriff's Office, reviewed by Fox News, reveal additional details of the incident. We're getting worried that there were off-duty law enforcement officers on the plane, and they have detained the individual. Goodness gracious.
2005 Roger, 5 under current issue should be subdued. And United 2005, understand your current situation. The last information I got from center was law enforcement on the flight, and the current issue should be subdued.
United 2005, it took some time, but my understanding is yes, the law enforcement officers on board have subdued him at this time. 2005, copy all, thanks, and just let me know if the situation changes. I'll pass along to the tower. United 2005, welcome.
So here we go. Attempted skyjacking over Wisconsin. Now I have no idea who this individual is. They haven't given us the information yet. Passenger tried to breach the cockpit. Luckily, there were 5 law enforcement officers on board. So incredibly convenient. FBI agent as well. So here we go. Diverted after a 75-year-old man attempted to breach the cockpit. 75-year-old man? Deputies boarded the plane, took the passenger into custody. Officials quickly determined the man was having a confused and experienced a mental health crisis.
The 147 passengers and 6 crew on board. But just before 9 p.m., all of that changed. The captain diverting the plane to Dane County, Wisconsin.
Yeah, we'll land, take a left turn, just...
Okay, geez. High-altitude terror. Passenger attempts to storm the cockpit. The aircraft safely diverted. Post 9/11 reinforced doors held, a chilling reminder of the threats inside of the cabin. Attempted skyjacking again. Passenger breached the cockpit. Attempted to, at least multiple times. What the hell is happening? 1 passenger, 1 cockpit. They decided a completely different headline. Good news, the plane landed safely. Bad news, we're seeing more and more of these isolated incidents. That's a matter of fact. Panic in the skies. At one point, the air traffic controller feared that there could be a hijacking attempt. That's exactly what this is. I mean, if you're trying to get into the cockpit, I don't care what your mental state is. That's what's happening. Okay. Incidents like this is why secondary cockpit barriers are necessary. Installed physical secondary barriers are a lockable metal gate positioned between the passenger cabin and the cockpit. Its purpose is simple: provide an extra layer of security on the flight. Okay, so here's like a demonstration here. Do you think that airlines now need this? What a horrible time to be alive. I mean, I'm not normally a doomer on these things, but it didn't have to be this way. We didn't used to have a society like this. Goodness. We were warned. We were warned. Writer and political analyst from Middle East Affairs saying this.
Extremist. Let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
Round of applause. That's completely correct. And what are we doing to ourselves? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you stay safe out there. We're praying for peace. We want the temperature to come down in this country. And peace is the best way, along with mass deportations. Save the West. It's your boy Benny. See you.
Okay, the first Benny video. I got a Photoshop before we do Dr. Pruitt. Anybody see this yet? Hey, Flying Eagle told me to start it at this marker here.
Against the law in the United States of America.
Shout out to her channel. Everybody go haven't subscribed to her yet. Subscribe to her.
Yes, overstaying a visa is against U.S. immigration law. Staying longer than allowed, which is usually on your Form 94, makes your stay illegal. This can lead to your visa being canceled, deportation, and penalties.
Nothing yet, Tim.
If we are law-abiding people, why would we support somebody breaking the law or going against statutes, policies, and codes of the same government that afforded them the privilege? And yes, many of them do have fake IDs, fake social security number. And you know what? Follow some of the immigration attorneys while they're on YouTube trying to give advice. They'll say, if you or when you present your fake ID, I admonish you to know that deportation will realize that it's false. A lot of them have fake IDs and fake social security numbers. Some of them don't even have to have social security numbers. But I'm just showing you, we're covering almost everybody that's complaining. Overstaying the visa is against the same, the policy people that gave them the visa is saying if you stay over, you can go to prison. Jail and be deported. We're having a great spiritual awakening. They overstayed their welcome in our home. Yeah. And tore the house up because it's too many. Oh, I heard that. I can't see this devil giving us nothing that's not in their nature. Nope. You know, are you talking about the government? Well, their time is up. So it's not that anybody is giving us anything. It's that I hear what you're saying, is that the entities that overtook our government.
Shoot. Okay, I think I might have to read. Hold on a second, you guys. I'm texting Flying Eagle right now. Hold on. I don't know if you guys want me to do the whole hour of Kaya. Dr. Kaya threw it. Okay. He told me to start for the whole thing, so this is going to be an hour, you guys. Important video. Ah! What the heck happened? This is the beginning.
That up. If you have the link, can you show it to me? A lot of these political officials aren't even American. How can you be concerned about America if you're not American?
Exactly.
Here, I did. I saved it. I saved the link. Sent it to my email. Thank you for that. I'm gonna bring it up right now. So they allowed people to take over, immigrants to take over certain jobs and to take over political seats and to control banks and to buy up land here. I'm telling you, it's a bloodline war. That's what we're saying by spiritual. It's a bloodline war against the indigenous people here in America. I mean, what else could it be? What else could it be? So let me bring this up here. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. California mayor resigns, will plead guilty to acting as an agent for the Chinese government. Eileen Wang has agreed to plead guilty to acting as an illegal agent for the Chinese government with potential imprisonment of up to 10 years. They sold us out. And you do have people that are here that were born here and it's all they know. And they're like, look, I love America. I love Americans. I want to stay here. Well, for those people, they might, I don't know, maybe they will have to do a status correction. But if you're lawfully American, you don't have to do it. I don't see why you would have to do a status correction. I'm going to tell you, you don't have to. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. The 58-year-old was elected in 2022 of November to a 5-year city council from which the mayor is selected on a rotating basis. City Mayor Dominic Lazaretto said in a news release that no city finance or staff were involved. We wanted to be clear. It's interesting. A lot of politicians say that. Let's be clear. We wanted to be clear. This investigation concerns individual conduct, and the charges are for conduct that ceased after Ms. Wang was sworn into office in December 2022. Federal officials said she's agreed to plead guilty to the felony, which comes with a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. Hopefully she'll get deported. Oops. I didn't know I was off. Want to serve a maximum sentence of 10 years. I hope this is the right link I'm sending to you. I'm putting it in the comment section, but I'll also put it in the description section for you. So, family, my question was, do you have to change the status or do a status correction to remain on the land or to be sovereign? Sovereign rights are granted by God and by the Constitution for the Republic here in America. Rights are different from privileges. Sovereigns are different from United States citizens. In my opinion, I'll tell you, I have not done a status correction because I don't have to correct my status. I don't have to have a status. That's something that was given through the United States Incorporated. I'm American by blood, by birth. I have birth rights. I have blood rights. What did you say, Hemp? If you weren't here before the Civil War, you should be up for deportation. Interesting. Thank you, Hemp Cousteau. There was a YouTuber warning the American indigenous people about the illegal and foreign individuals occupying government positions to block access. Interesting. Thank you. This sounds like one of those movies that I used to watch before bedtime for years. The Asians have been having their babies in America by the dozens. Even President Trump said you had millionaires and billionaires dropping off their babies here in order to gain access to the land on purpose. They knew what they were doing and they knew what they were training their children for. They were training their children to take over. Sister Janine, our moderator, thank you. Comments. It never made sense to me to have to correct the status when we are correct by being born here. Absolutely, I feel the same way. Now, there are people doing everything in their power to find a way to remain here. They're changing status. They're changing their nationality. They're, wanting to be a state national and I don't know, naturalization process. They're doing everything they can to stay tied to the land. And I get it.
Everybody
this
okay
is the land
with
flowing with milk and honey. But here's the thing. The indigenous people didn't invite all these people here. The federal government, who's our enemy. The federal government who made us prisoners of war, will help to make us prisoners of war and incorporated themselves and create their own constitution. The government that created the 400, it's now 445. You can go to the Dr. Kia Pruitt on this YouTube channel at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. Go to my community section. You can see the 445 government agencies that exist that are not government, that have to be dismantled. They invited people here. Politicians flew people here. Judges allowed them to stay here that are not even judges, they're administrators. That's why they will have to cease and desist. They're going to have to stand down. They're being arrested.
Make your browser fast. Make your browser safe.
The enemy invited people from all over the world to come here. The indigenous people did not invite all these people here. It's like if you have your home and somebody comes and overtakes your home and strong arms the woman or the man of the house. They now make you a prisoner of war in your house. And then now that they've overtaken your house, invite other people, their family members and other strangers to come into your house, to speak their language, to exercise their rights, to, do their own culture in your house, to speak to you or not speak to you in your house, to call you lazy, to say they work harder than you. And look, even if I am lazy on my land, that's my prerogative and my business. Don't concern yourself about if black people or people classified as black that are indigenous people are lazy or work less or less harder than. Don't concern yourself with that if you're not from here. Don't even concern yourself with what President Trump is doing because he's not your president. He's the president here in America, whether it's the president of the republic or the corporation. That's nobody's concern that's not American. It's not right for people to wave their flags here on this landmass arrogantly or flagrantly, because we wouldn't do that in another person's country. And I keep hearing people say the land doesn't belong to anybody. We should be able to roam freely. Well, you always gonna have some type of border protection. And I said it earlier. If you don't believe in protecting borders, then leave your doors unlocked. Leave your doors open. Because your house is supposed to be your sanctuary for you and your family. So the land of your birth, it should be a sanctuary for you and your family. If you just allow anybody to walk in your house, they could take over, which would what's happening. You got a Chinese official being arrested now, about to serve prison time. You got 400 million people defecting from the CCP and celebrating in New York, right here in America, just a few years ago. They defected because they knew that they were allowed to come here to overtake America. You want to know how I know that? Look it up. February the 8th, 2008. You can find it on YouTube. February 8th, 2008, you had the Secretary of State. What was his name? Former FBI agent, former FBI director, Mike Pompeo, went to the governor's conference and he spoke to the governors and he said, I know each one of you have been complicit with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party of China. He said, I have a report card of how complicit you all have been with allowing foreigners from the Chinese Communist Party to take positions at banks, research institutions, universities, hospitals, serve in politics. They've infiltrated every segment of society because you governors have allowed it to happen. The Chinese Communist Party gave y'all a grade between A to F, is what Mike Pompeo said, and I have the record. So I'm going to tell you to do the right thing. This was in February 2008. I mean, February 8, 2020. My bad. Mike Pompeo, Governor's Conference. He said, I'm going to tell you to do the right thing. Because what happened is they were even some of the students that were here from China were spies. I didn't say it. Mike Pompeo said it. And they sold secrets and information to the CCP, Chinese Communist Party of China. I'm not going to play it, but you can go to YouTube, National Governors Association's 2020 Winter Meeting, February 8, 2020, live session. That was a 3-hour session, but you can listen to Mike Pompeo's speech right here. Secretary Pompeo's remarks, 2020, 6 years ago. I'm not going to play it, but I just wanted to show you that. He said, y'all need to do the right thing. That was the month before the global pandemic. The next month, they shut down the whole world with the governors of many of these states being complicit. I put the link in the description for you all. I'm sorry, in the chat. So you had a lot of our secrets, a lot of our information sold to the CCP. Thank you for sharing that, Sister Sherry. On Instagram, you guys can't see this comment on the other platform.
I did it again, darn it. What the heck? Hang on. What do you guys think so far? But okay.
CP. Thank you for sharing that, Sister Sherry. On Instagram, you guys can't see this comment on the other platform, but Sister Sherry says, my grandmother's history from records that I can trace back to birth certificates.
Yeah, I'm not either, Tim.
We
So
have
if you guys want me to
282
stop it,
years from my mother's side of the matriarch, born in Tennessee, 1744. That's the last record that I can trace.
Yeah. I never really follow her, but anyway, yeah, we'll move on. Thanks, Flying Eagle. I put her channel in the chat so people that like her. Okay, let's do.
Asking me what my streams and revenues and social media numbers are when they have teams of interns down the hall who do all that for them. They have computers in Russia running up all these numbers all the time. See, this is why it pays to know the secrets. It's not, it's once you know it, you know it. That's it. There's nothing new. Once you know that, there's nothing new. Asking me what are my strengths, knowing I cannot compete with their in-house capital, the money, they have all that money accumulated, and also their promotion teams who, again, when they call the program director with a new artist, hey, we got a new artist named Derek Johnson, boop, it's just that quick. So I'm actually so glad to not be a part of that conundrum and incompetence, because my brain's a lot thinker. My thinker up here, way more competent they'll ever be put together. All right. So, now you got people like Scott McDonald out there who beat the Hot 100, but he's never beaten radio. Radio's a lot bigger because that's their system. That's where their sponsors come in. That's where their money people are. It's not in Hot 100. All right. So little things like that. If you young writers would stop when you do a cover song, anytime you do a cover song, every single.
I'm sorry about that one, you guys. He's just talking about his music. We didn't want to hear about his music. He normally does Intel. Sorry about that one. All right, let's get going on this one here. This one's a better one.
Today, they're working in the office next door and banging, and I can barely think. So let's just get after this. To this one, just take it without a telephoto lens, 4K, 60 frames a second, cruising over Las Vegas. Now look at this. You guys, you could do this too. Start analyzing every single craft or non-human intelligence that are leaving these thick, bright, shiny trails in your sky. And look at that. Even though it's not crystal clear, because we don't have the telephoto lens on today, we could see that that is definitely not an airplane, right? I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm hoping you all do your own research, but just watch this thing. Let's watch how it moves, right? See how the trails are just inching forward, basically like cutting a slit in the sky? It's pretty amazing. by amazing, it doesn't mean it's a good thing. They would not have been hiding this from us for so long if it was a good thing. You know, that's just my opinion, but you're welcome to share yours with me. But anyway, let's get back to this video. We're going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to look at the trail. Again, take footage of everything in the sky. The sun, the clouds, the moon. Analyze the heck out of it, you guys. Adjust your levels because it really helps you see what's really there. Because to me, it looks like they're hiding right in plain sight, and they've been here for a very, very long time.
Chemtrails, you guys, chemtrails.
But check this out. So now we're going to speed it back up. Do you see how the trail is just like shining? And it's getting to a certain point. Look at this. But then it doesn't get any bigger, right? If this was spray from an airplane, look at this thing. Does this look like it's came out of the back of a engine? It's wild. I don't know. I'm all over the place today. I got a great video coming for you guys, and I want to tell you more, but it's really kind of hard with TikTok, right? Because if I tell you exactly what's happening, I'm going to get banned in a second. So I have to figure out a way to creatively get you guys this information because you deserve the truth. And I'm going to do my best to get it to you, but we might have to push a real video out on another platform, and I'll let you guys know about that very, very soon. Again, you guys could do this every single day, and I really hope you start doing it. No telephoto lens. You don't need it. But if you do want to get one, Amazon, $150. Pair it with a good tripod. You could see the truth crystal clear with your own eyes. Look at this. Look at this stuff, you guys. We're going to talk about what it is, but like I said, I don't know how to say it exactly without getting banned. So we got to get creative. I'll put my thinking cap on. If you guys have any suggestions or ideas, I welcome all of it. Thank you, and have a good day.
Hey, that's our chemtrail guy. That was good. I got a 10-minute one. Then I got a Kaylee McEnany video. Did you guys hear that one?
All right. I got a good one for you, but it's a quick one today. They're working in the office next door and banging, and I can barely think. So let's just get after this. To this one, just take it without a telephoto lens.
Fiction or some futuristic concept. These flying machines already exist. They're already in the air, and many of them are forever changing the way we understand the skies. In this video, you'll discover the 8 most jaw-dropping flying machines in the world. From stealth military jets practically invisible to radar, to aircraft powered solely by the energy of the sun. From massive whale-shaped giants to supersonic beasts that shatter every record imaginable. Get ready, because what you're about to see is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Number 8, Stratolaunch Rock. You know those ridiculously huge airplanes that show up in sci-fi movies? Well, the Stratolaunch Rock is exactly that, but real. We're talking about the aircraft with the largest wingspan in the world, 385 feet from tip to tip. To put that into perspective, that's longer than an entire football field. But what's truly mind-blowing is its design. It has 2 parallel fuselages, as if 2 airplanes had been glued together by their wings, with 6 massive engines roaring beneath the central wing. But what on earth is this monster used for? Its mission is as futuristic as its appearance. It's designed to carry rockets up to 35,000 feet and launch them into space from there, saving enormous amounts of fuel and dramatically cutting costs. Its first flight back in 2019 left the world's mouth hanging open. And although few people outside the aerospace industry have ever heard of it, this giant could change forever how we send satellites into orbit. a silent beast just waiting for its moment. Number 7. NASA Super Guppy. If the Stratolaunch looks like something out of a movie, the Super Guppy looks straight out of a cartoon. Have you ever seen a whale with wings? Well, almost. This airplane has a belly so bloated and disproportionate that the first time you see it, you can hardly believe it actually gets off the ground. And yet, it's been doing it flawlessly for decades. NASA uses it for one very specific mission, hauling enormous pieces of cargo that no other airplane on Earth can handle. We're talking about complete rocket sections, space modules, and components for the International Space Station. Its cargo bay is so spacious it can swallow objects over 23 feet in diameter. But here's the wild part. The entire front of the airplane, including the cockpit, swings open sideways like the door of a giant refrigerator. Despite its clumsy appearance, the Super Guppy has been a critical piece of practically every modern American space program. Without it, many space missions simply would not have been possible. Number 6, X-59 QSST. Now buckle up, because what's coming next is pure technological madness. For decades, supersonic aircraft had one massive problem. Every time they broke the sound barrier, they generated a sonic boom so brutal it shattered windows and terrified people on the ground. That's why they were banned from flying over populated areas. Until now. The X-59 QSST, developed by NASA in partnership with Lockheed Martin, was designed to do something that seemed flat out impossible. Fly faster than the speed of sound without generating that thunderous boom. Its secret? An incredibly long, needle-sharp design, with a nose so extreme that the pilot can't even see straight ahead. Instead, they rely on a system of high-definition cameras and screens. The goal is to transform that ear-splitting sonic boom into something more like a soft thump, comparable to the sound of a car door closing. If they pull it off, we could once again see commercial supersonic flights crossing continents in half the time. Civilian aviation would be on the verge of a complete rebirth. Number 5. Concorde. Speaking of supersonic aircraft, it's impossible not to mention the undisputed king of the skies, the Concorde. Even though it no longer flies, its legend lives on. Imagine crossing the Atlantic, from New York to London, in under 3.5 hours. Yes, you heard that right. While a normal flight takes nearly 8 hours, the Concorde did it in less than half the time, cruising at twice the speed of sound. Its silhouette was unmistakable. That sharp-pointed nose that tilted downward during landing, those signature delta-shaped wings, and that unforgettable roar that announced its arrival miles before you could even see it. Its passengers, mostly celebrities and millionaire businessmen, paid absolute fortunes for a seat on board. And honestly, who could blame them? It flew so high you could actually see the curvature of the Earth from your window. Its retirement in 2003 marked the end of a golden era in aviation. Today, more than 2 decades later, no commercial airplane has come close to matching it. A true masterpiece, light years ahead of its time. Number 4, F-22 Raptor. Now we're switching gears completely. If the previous machines were peaceful giants or technological pioneers, the F-22 Raptor is pure aggression in concentrated form. Considered by many experts to be the most lethal fighter jet ever built, this beast of American military aviation combines things that seem downright impossible to combine. It's invisible to radar thanks to its stealth technology. In other words, enemy detection systems basically can't see it coming until it's already too late. But on top of that, it's ridiculously fast, hitting speeds over Mach 2, and maneuvers with an agility that defies the laws of physics. It can pull off turns and maneuvers that would tear any other aircraft apart. But the most impressive feature is its super cruise capability, flying at supersonic speeds without needing to engage the afterburners, which saves an enormous amount of fuel. The United States guards this technology so jealously that in fact exporting it is forbidden by law. No other country in the world has access to it. It's the secret jewel of the American skies, a silent beast nobody wants as an enemy. Number 3, Bell V-280 Valor. Helicopter or airplane? That's the question anyone asks themselves the first time they lay eyes on the Bell V-280 Valor. And the answer is both at the same time. This revolutionary machine uses a technology called tilt rotor, which allows it to take off vertically like a helicopter and, once airborne, tilt its rotors forward to fly like a conventional airplane. The result is absolutely spectacular. It can hit speeds of nearly 320 miles per hour, almost double that of a traditional military helicopter, with twice the range. That means troops can reach remote areas faster and more safely than ever before. The United States Army recently selected it to replace the legendary Black Hawk helicopters, which have been in service for over 4 decades. What makes the V-280 so special isn't just its speed, but what it represents. The future of military aviation merged with the future of civilian aviation. Soon, we could see it deployed in rescue missions and transport operations all around the planet. Number 2, Airlander 10. Now get ready for something completely different. Remember those old-school Zeppelins from the last century? Well, the Airlander 10 is their modern-day great-grandchild, and it's an absolute marvel. Combining technology from airplanes, helicopters, and airships, this giant of the skies has been affectionately nicknamed the Flying Bum.
Yes, this is
Live
a
for
pretty
the
good
bases
one.
loaded. Live for the away games.
Because of its peculiar rounded
2 minutes,
shape.
guys, 2
And
minutes.
honestly, viewed from behind, that's literally what it looks like. But behind its goofy appearance hides some seriously impressive technology. It can stay airborne for up to 5 consecutive days without needing to land, haul heavy cargo to remote locations where no airports exist, and do it all while burning up to 75% less fuel than a conventional aircraft. A genuine green revolution in the skies. Its potential applications are practically endless. Luxury tourism with breathtaking views, surveillance, cargo transport to inaccessible regions, humanitarian aid, and so much more. Imagine spending your vacation silently floating over the Arctic or the Amazon. That's exactly what this machine promises. The Airlander 10 could completely redefine what it means to travel by air in this century. Number 1, Solar Impulse 2. And now we've reached number 1. And no, it's not the fastest, the largest, or the deadliest. It's something far more impressive. The first airplane in history capable of flying day and night, completing a full trip around the world without consuming a single drop of fuel. Yes, you heard that right. 0 fuel. The Solar Impulse 2 runs purely and exclusively on solar energy. Its wings, which are larger than those of a Boeing 747, are covered with over 17,000 solar cells that absorb sunlight during the day and charge a set of batteries that allow it to keep flying through the entire night. Its weight is almost ridiculous compared to its size, thanks to the use of ultralight carbon fiber. Back in 2016, this incredible machine completed its historic trip around the world, proving that clean aviation isn't some far-off utopia, but a tangible reality. It crossed entire oceans with a single pilot on board, on flight legs that lasted several days non-stop. The Solar Impulse 2 isn't just an airplane, it's a statement. A promise that the future of humanity can fly clean, silent, and free. Each of these flying machines represents decades of research, millions of dollars in investment, and an unbreakable passion for conquering the impossible. They're living proof that when the human mind dares to dream big, not even the sky is the limit. Now tell me, which of these flying machines impressed you the most? Drop your opinion in the comments below. Smash that like button if this video left your jaw on the floor, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our
Okay, I thought that was good. We got, did we do the one Benny with the riots?
Team won the Super Bowl. Presumably, you wouldn't burn your
Haven't
house
done
to
it.
ashes in celebration. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, if
You'd
we
be
did this
hurting
one a
yourself.
lot.
And if you did do that, what does that say about what you think about where you live? Why is the Eiffel Tower on fire is the next logical question, because a soccer team from Paris won a football match, a soccer match, and then the residents of Paris, I'm not going to call them French people because they're not, they're third world invaders, decided to set the entire city ablaze. Paris is right now in ashes. You can see the Eiffel Tower encased in smoke because Paris Saint-Germain beat Arsenal, that's an English football league, in a shootout. Okay. I don't see any French people on this team.
I don't think I
That's
did
fine.
this one.
Well, I guess, whatever, just the way that Europe goes. But This is Paris Saint-Germain. Got it. It's a football club. Good for you. I guess they won. Don't care. What I do care about is Western civilization, and Western civilization is gone. It's collapsed. The people who built Paris, that made it the greatest city on earth, are gone, and they would be churning in their graves if they were to see how the ruins of their once great city look
Yes,
now that it has been conquered. The Nazis couldn't conquer it. Couldn't conquer it and hold it. Multiple other conquests, obviously, attempting to seize and take Paris. They withstood world wars and sieges and wars throughout thousands of years. Everyone's always tried to conquer Paris, but one generation of criminal alien migration and third world migration, and Paris is finished. Marie Le Pen, the MAGA leader of France, saying, MAFA, make France great again. MAFA. Only in France does a victory in a football club spark riots. Only in France does everyone feel compelled to lock themselves in their homes the night of victory to avoid being confronted with violence. Look at this. These are the streets of Paris now. Is this what you would do to a place that you love? Is this what you would do to a place that you cared about? Of course you wouldn't set all the bikes ablaze and go rampaging through the streets. Look at this. All of them, young adolescent men, no jobs, no future, no hope, no prospects. The globalist leaders of France brought them in order to fix their rotting nation because they saw population numbers, and they said, oh, we can't be reducing in population, without asking the simple question, which is, why do actual French people, native-born French people, the people that you assume lived in France, the ones who spoke French and whose ancestors built the place, why are they not having children? Perhaps you could have answered that question. That's a much tougher question to ask and to answer and to get a solution for. The easiest and lowest IQ and smoothest brain move would be to, oh, who cares? We'll just import third worlders who have nothing in common with this place. They don't share a heritage, a language. They don't share civilization. These are the scenes out of France. Growing up, you never saw France look like this. You never saw it. Incredible. Ladies and gentlemen. Reports of fires being spread across France as fans celebrate. Of course, they're not celebrating. They're just using this as an opportunity to do what they've always wanted to do to Paris, which is to burn it to the ground, to burn it to ashes. They will be cold. They will be hungry. They will make a fire out of your beautiful oak door. They won't care about your history. They don't care about Paris. They don't care who built it or what built it. They're here to destroy it. They're destroyers. They're civilizational destroyers. And they didn't have to conquer it. I mean, you can almost respect the armies throughout the millennia who have stood on a battlefield, French battlefields, which there have been hundreds of thousands of battles across France, and tried to take territory. These invaders were invited in by the French government. It was a surrender in the true
6 minutes
nature of France. They've surrendered now
I got a bunch of
to the
short
total
ones
and complete
coming
third
up.
world. Look at these scenes. Look at this. Cinder blocks, bikes, the city ablaze. Of course, you get this type of behavior almost exclusively from adolescent young men. So you have adolescent young men roving the streets. Now, why would they do this if they actually had something to live for? They're not. Look at this in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. Setting ablaze. You can see the Olympics there. The Olympic symbol. The symbol of harmony between all the world. Yeah, right. You can see the Eiffel Tower being set ablaze. Look at all the ashes and the cinder. The burning. The Eiffel Tower shrouded in a cloud of black smoke following the fires. Live on French TV during the Paris riot. Shooter rider wipes out hard on the road. Boom. Okay. Well, I guess there's a small silver lining. Look at this. How many French people do you see here? How many French people are in this shot? France is dead. There is no more France. As Donald Trump says, Paris is not Paris anymore. This is a complete and total replacement population. The French leaders realized that their civilization, so all these globalist leaders see population growth as the number one good, that your population always has to be growing. This is a horrible, by the way, idea that is not grounded in anything other than GDP numbers, which by and large do not make life better for the populations or civilizations. Look at these poor women. These animals, these poor French women, like are sitting there. They're like, look at this. That's Paris. Incredible. Again, Paris withstood thousands of European wars, thousands, hundreds of thousands. It withstood 2 world wars and survived. And all it took was 1 generation of criminal migration in order to destroy it. Sickening. All because of a soccer match. Paris has fallen. All because their team won. These aren't the actions of victors. These aren't the actions of anybody who actually cares about the place that they live. Again, why would you burn your house to the ground if you loved it? Look at them. They're looting cars. They're stripping cars. These are precisely the images that you see riots in the Muslim world, in the third world. We're not used to seeing them in Western civilization, but here it has been visited upon us by our evil leaders. They're taking over ambulances. Look at this. They're driving on ambulances. End criminal migration. North Africa. Africans and North Africans. They're Muslims. Muslims and African migrants who hate Europe are actively here to destroy it. Firefighters are being attacked. Look at this.
Sur les pompiers. Regarde comment ils tirent sur les pompiers, fils de pute. Eh, t'es là, c'est des pompiers. Pourquoi on fait ça, là? C'est des pompiers, là. Non, il y a des pompiers là-bas.
An absolute war zone. A war zone of their own making. Look at this. It does. It looks just like some type of fallen third world African nation. They're fighting the firefighters. They set this tunnel ablaze, and now they're fighting the firefighters. Look at that. I mean, it literally looks worse than a war zone. Attacking emergency response vehicles.
Well, we're going 3 hours, so we got 35 minutes.
Paris Saint-Germain
I'll be back
wins
tonight.
the Championship League. They're dumbass fans the same night. Let's destroy the Eiffel Tower. That's exactly right. So ask yourself, if it looks like an apocalyptic video game, what have you done? What have you done to your civilization? This isn't the way that Parisians acted. This is the final thing I'll show you. This is the last time that Paris Saint-Germain won in 1998. You'll notice a very, very different. You'll notice it looks very, very different. You have white Parisians celebrating in the streets. Early, sipping wine and champagne in the streets, dancing and singing French songs. Now what? 20 years later. 20 years later, what have you done? What have you done? You've destroyed the most beautiful city on earth. And for what? And for what? It's time. This is the warning sign to all civilization. This is the warning sign to every nation on earth. This is what happens when you bring incompatible cultures in. They will simply destroy and burn to the ground that which they do not understand. A cautionary tale for every nation. May we heed it. Your boy Benny. Pray for Paris.
Okay, now time for some shorts. Three minutes.
And civilization reversed into dark age. Donald Trump looked at that 47-year-old trap and made a bet. not on Iran's regime, on Iran's people. He gambled on civilization. Now, let's look at who's not happy. Netanyahu warned Trump against the ceasefire before it happened. Lindsey Graham invoked the Libya model. That's not a model, it's a warning. Surrender your weapons or uranium and see what happens. In Libya, 8 years after they surrendered their weapons, a NATO-backed mob murdered Gaddafi. That's what the war party is offering Iran. Trump is offering something entirely different. But Graham made sure to get in the last word this morning. He posted, "I prefer diplomacy if it leads to the right outcome regarding the Iranian terrorist regime. That's why congressional review process like the one the Senate followed to test the Obama-Iranian deal is a sound way forward." Did you catch that? A congressional review process in the middle of live, delicate negotiations. Negotiations which, by the way, don't directly involve Israel. But President Trump is calling the shots, not Lindsey Graham. And he's offering something else entirely. But how did he get here? Not through NATO, not through the British, not through European institutions that have managed the Mideast misery for a century.
Well, I hope so.
Pakistan mediated the ceasefire with the involvement of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar were in the room for the Gaza negotiations. These are sovereign Muslim and Arab nations that the empire spent a century playing off against each other, now acting as partners for peace. And Trump's Board of Peace was built exactly for this. Now, let's not forget who's not at the table. The Strait of Hormuz has been for generations financially managed through Lloyd's of London. Trump's deal to reopen it, brokered by Pakistan and including Iran, cuts the British financial architecture out of the solution entirely. The empire that built this cockpit of war is not present as it gets dismantled. That's what a civilizational gamble looks like when it starts to pay off. Not NATO, not London, but sovereign nations choosing to build instead of destroy. The golden age of the Middle East. That is the civilizational offer, not the Libya model. Now, this isn't done. Talks will continue Friday in Islamabad with Vice President Vance likely leading the U.S. delegation. And the war party will work overtime to blow it up, but the structure is in place. If you're beginning to realize that this is a lot bigger than just the Middle East, and that it's part of a fight that can bring down the imperial, replace the...
Okay, I got two more with her. Is this the same one? I don't know if it's the same one. I don't think it is.
The United States will never be extorted. That's not a threat. That's an exposure. That's a man who is named a hidden game, a game fought in the shadows for decades. And here's what this president sounds like when he knows he has won this round.
Make a deal or not makes no difference to me. And the reason is because we've won. But from my standpoint, I don't care.
And here's what he's demanding.
They haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything. I don't want 90%. I don't want 95%. I told them, I want everything.
They have no cards. That is the verdict of a president who hasn't just changed the outcome. He's changed the board itself. Now, right now on social media, there are people, including some who voted for Trump, who are calling for the 25th Amendment, saying he's lost it, he's reckless, he started a war nobody wanted, and now he's telling us he doesn't care whether we win or lose. Well, here's what they're missing. Iran is not the target. Iran is a node, a piece on the board the British Empire has managed for over a century. And the president's real target is the infrastructure of imperial control itself.
Keep praying and
the financial choke points, the energy dependencies, the offshore banking apparatus. He's naming it, and he's forcing a hidden war into the daylight where it can finally be fought and won. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I've watched the empire operate in the shadows for over a century. Now it's out in the open, and if you want to understand what that means, then hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. I'm going to cover three things today. first, how Trump flipped the Strait of Hormuz extortion operation and why Keir Starmer isn't happy. Second, how Iran's financial pipeline is being rolled up and why that leads to London. And third, why Britain's own military chief just confessed that the empire has no war plan. So for over a century, the Strait of Hormuz has been the empire's ultimate leverage point. Whoever controls it controls who prospers and who doesn't. Britain managed that choke point through Iran, through successive regime changes that go back to Mossadegh. But it was different regimes and the same imperial function. Keep the region unstable, keep the choke point contested, keep the world dependent. That's the protection racket in its purest form. The mob breaks your windows, keeping the region unstable, keeps the ships from moving, and then charges you for the protection that makes passage possible. Lloyd's of London was the insurance arm of the racket. You want your ship to transit the strait, then buy our coverage. And the city of London collected a cut on every yesterday.
Okay, one more with her. I got a Patriot Princess.
Up until now, Lloyd's just raised the premiums. Then Donald Trump moved to shut down the racket, and Lloyd's canceled all the insurance. The president told his Treasury Secretary, move in and have the U.S. provide insurance. He broke their financial arm first. Now he's finishing the job militarily. He's ending world extortion. On Fox yesterday, here's what the president said.
We're not going to let Iran make money on selling oil to people that they like and not people that they don't like or whatever it is. It's going to be all or none, and that's the way it is. And it'll be, you saw what we did with Venezuela. It'll be something very similar to that, but at a higher level.
All or none. No imperial management, no picking winners and losers. The choke point is American now, not just because America seized it, but because America named what it actually was and is refusing to play the game any longer. And this morning, we got the clearest possible confirmation of what has actually changed. Keir Starmer, the prime minister of the country that managed this choke point for a century, was asked whether Britain would join the American blockade. And he said no. Now, the president has described Starmer's position throughout this Iran conflict very clearly, characterizing it more than once as a, quote, Neville Chamberlain statement. So the mob's enforcer has been neutralized. Now, admittedly, Keir Starmer is a pretty pathetic excuse for a Don, but his bluff has been called. The choke point the British Empire managed for a century is now an American operation. Britain didn't lose access to the strait. Britain lost the game. Now, if you want to understand the full depth of this fight, the imperial architecture that the president is dismantling, and what it means for America's future, you need to be reading Promethean Action. So subscribe to our free newsletter. The link is in the description. Now, that's the physical side of the protection racket. Here's the rest of it. The U.S. is targeting the money flows to the guys who break the windows. Let's start with Dubai. The conservative treehouse flagged the story today in a post entitled, "Cut Off the Money. The U.S. military will start enforcing embargo." They report that the blockade is happening against the little discussed backdrop of Dubai targeting Iranian money changers. Dubai was the washing machine where oil proceeds went in and clean dollars came out. UAE authorities arrested dozens of IRGC-linked money changers, shut down their companies, and closed their offices. The Gulf states just shut the machine off. But that's not all. 2 days before Epic Fury launched, Treasury Secretary Besant deployed Section 311 of the Patriot Act against Ember Merchant Bank in Zurich, which has laundered over $100 million on every ship.
Okay, got three with her. Now Patriot Princess. About a 4-minute one. I hope I can hear it.
Like a traditional IRA. for the children under 18.
Today, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will speak at the 2026 Reagan National Economic Forum. This is the latest stop promoting the...
God dang it.
Traditional IRA for the children under 18.
Today, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will speak at the 2026 Reagan National Economic Forum. This is the latest stop promoting the administration's new Trump account programs. The Treasury Department launched the Trump account app nationwide on Thursday. Here's Secretary Bessent talking about it yesterday at the White House.
Let's start out with Trump accounts. Trump accounts, I believe, are the most important benefit for young people since the GI Bill. Today, the app is now available on all major platforms, bringing the president's vision directly to American homes. Nearly 6 million American children have been signed up for Trump accounts, which will launch on July 4th. And I would encourage all of you to go to trumpaccount.gov to sign up.
And I think it's really interesting because there's big corporations and private investors that are contributing to the Trump accounts, specifically BlackRock and Bank of America.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the Wall Street companies that have already given in and donated to Trump accounts. So many people, Chelsea, say, I'd like to give back, but I want to be effective. This is effective.
This is effective. This is so effective. It's thinking about the future. Another aspect to this I like, and virtually every single company up there is publicly traded company. Years ago, President Bush talked about the older.
What if these Trump accounts are part of the hammer dropping on the deep state cabal? What if it's the God karma from Executive Order 13818 and Executive Order 13848? The military seizes assets of anyone who commits crimes against humanity or interferes with the United States election. What if this is Jesus Christ flipping the money tables in real time? What if Trump and the military seized those assets and are giving them back to the people and to the children, and truly making America great again and keeping their promise of draining the swamp? I wonder if we'll find out later that BlackRock, Bank of America, and all the other contributors to these Trump accounts committed crimes against humanity or election fraud. These Trump accounts are the military and Trump keeping their word, draining the swamp, and making America truly great again. Matthew 19:30, the last shall be first, and Deuteronomy 28:12, you shall be able to lend to many nations, and you yourself shall not have to borrow. Matthew 21:12, Jesus entered the temple courts, and he called out all the fraud and all who were buying and selling there in the temple. And he flipped the money tables. Ooh, karma's a biatch.
Okay. Okay, let's finish off with this one, you guys. Anybody see this?
We were in Arizona.
We were in Arizona. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So a lot of people, we've seen your work in politics. We've seen your work in media and news. I'd love to hear maybe a little bit more behind the scenes in terms of your personal testimony of your own faith. You've spoken about it frequently, but I'd love for you to kind of just maybe share a little bit more of just your personal story and how you got to where you are.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a small town called Plant City, Florida. It's the world's strawberry capital. It's a sweet little town, and I was raised by a mom and a dad who took me to church every week. And we started out Presbyterian, and then we moved over to the Southern Baptist Church, and I gave my life to Christ at a young age. And I remember that moment. I walked down the aisle, and I committed my life to my Lord and Savior. And I know in that moment I became saved. But later in life, there was a moment that my faith became very real to me, and I'll never forget it. It was in New York City, and I had taken my first job. I had just left Georgetown University, where I graduated, and I came to intern for the Mike Huckabee Show where I eventually got my first job as an associate producer. So I'm there working for Mike Huckabee, and I'm in the green room with Sarah Sanders, which is so funny in hindsight because this was way before Donald Trump came on the scene. And here's Sarah Sanders and me, and we're just two young girls running around this green room. That's the holding room before, you go out on television where the governor had his show. And I'm working at Fox News, and I have no idea at this point that Sarah Huckabee Sanders will go on to be a White House press secretary, and I will follow in her footsteps. But at the time, I didn't know that plan. I didn't know that God had it all figured out. I wanted to figure it out. And I was feeling very lonely. And New York City, they say, as my pastor at the Journey Church said, it's a place full of millions of people, but it can feel like the loneliest place on earth. And I certainly felt that way at one point. And I was going through a bad breakup, which in hindsight is comical because my husband is the best guy on earth. And I didn't know Sean Gilmartin was just waiting on Twitter where I met him after I slid into his DMs later in life. But at that time, I was going through heartbreak and I was very lonely. And I remember leaving work early and I said to God, I went home, laid in my bed, was very lonely. My family, they weren't answering their phone. And I said, God, if you're out there, I need to hear from you right now. And my phone lit up with a number I did not know. And I answered it and they said, this is the Journey Church. How can we pray for you? We feel like we need to pray for you. It is inexplicable. The only way that happened at that specific moment in time is because Jesus Christ sent an emissary to my cell phone to reach into my heart. And it was at that moment that my faith, which was certainly in my head, went to my heart and it became an unmovable, unshakable core of my being that will never change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I was going to tell you, I have been to Plant City, and I think I actually stopped by a strawberry farm in Plant City. Yeah, I was at an event probably 2 years ago. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Your faith, and let me pause on this because the person just making a phone call asking, hey, can I pray for you? I mean, how many church volunteers are doing things like that and not realizing the impact that can have? And I think about how many people your faith has impacted.
But it came really out of the blue, that phone call. I remember riding up the Eastern Corridor. It was during COVID-19. And my husband and I drove up. We didn't want to be like on a plane. It was COVID time. And we just, it was a safer way to go, we felt. And so as we're driving, I got a text from someone. It was my dad. And he said, because I was very nervous, I'm calling former press secretaries. How do I do this job? Calling people in the administration. I even tried to find academic journal articles about how to be a good press secretary. There's like one and I read it. But then my dad texted me that piece of advice. And he said, maybe you are here for such a time as this. And then a few weeks down the road, someone who is very opposite than my dad ideologically, CNN's Van Jones, who thinks differently than me on the ideological spectrum, texted me and said, maybe you're here for such a time as this. And I knew that was something I was meant to hear. So I take this job, and I don't know if I'm going to be asked to give a briefing. And then one day the president looked at me on a Tuesday and he said, Kaylee, do a briefing. And I thought to myself, oh man, I'm going to need some weeks to get my notes together. It'd been 400 days since any press secretary had given a briefing. So I thought we had some time. And then he said again, do a briefing. He said this on like Wednesday. He said it Thursday. I'm like, oh no, he's saying this a lot. And then he said, do a briefing and do it before Monday, which left Friday. So we're scrambling, preparing, getting everything together. And I did more academic preparation than one could possibly do. But the real preparation was the spiritual preparation. I listened to a sermon about having faith over fear. I listened to my Christian music. I tweeted out a Philippians verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then I go in to do this briefing, nervous, trepidation. And I'm getting texts from people, encouraging notes. And then I received a text from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And Sarah Sanders said this. She sent me her Jesus Calling devotional, which was exactly 2 years prior to the day of my first briefing. She used to read it before her briefings. And the Jesus Calling devotional said, you are on the path of my choosing. There's no randomness about your life. As you give yourself more and more to a life of constant communion with me, you will find that you simply have no time to worry. But I worried because I'm a human and worried a lot. And I went to the West Wing bathroom, got on my knees, said a prayer, walked out to the podium, not knowing what I would face, a little shaken. But when I stood there, I felt such a sanguine peace. like I had been doing this my whole life, and that was not something that came from me. It's something that definitely came from above. And there were many such moments like that in the administration. But my first briefing, I felt it. I felt a peace that was so real, so certain. And it was that affirmation of you're here for such a time as this, which is a message for all of us, not just for me. We're all here on this earth, a bigger part of a puzzle. It's not about us. It's about being a piece of God's puzzle. And we are all one of those pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember watching you in those press briefings, and and I think you captured a lot of people with the confidence that you brought, and I mean, hearing the backstory of it, of kind of what's going in through your own heart in that, I think that came across, very, very well. Identity is a major factor for people, and so when you're in these moments, you're highly scrutinized. You're doing something, maybe it's public, and really, but all of us online, you post a picture, you post a video, you post a thought, you go bold and share your testimony online. There's always going to be somebody that has an opinion about what you say. How did you kind of in those moments, and how do you continue to maybe really lean into your identity, who you are in Christ, when you're challenged by maybe all these other voices to the contrary?
It's very difficult. And I think the answer lies into knowing the only voice that matters and the only opinion that matters. And that's the opinion of God. It's the opinion of Christ. It's the opinion of our Savior. But you're right, the scrutiny's there. And I certainly felt it. It was so frustrating, when I'd go and give a briefing and something was cut out of context and twisted entirely. And then there'd be a correction days later, but no one sees the correction. They just see the false headline. And there were so many examples of that. But you realize he's got this and he's in control. And at the end of the day, he has the victory for you, and you just rest in that. But I think it's something, realizing the bigger picture. Tomorrow, on Saturday in America, my Fox show, it airs at 10. One of the people I'm having on is Ryan Lochte, an Olympian, a swimmer. You probably remember him. It was him and Michael Phelps constantly competing. He's the third most medaled Olympian swimmer. And, when he was at his height, he was scrutinized a lot. He made several mistakes. But I was so enthused to see recently, one of my friends sent me this. He was baptized and he recommitted his life to Christ. And, he was the one who said that first statement that I said, which is the only opinion that matters is the opinion that Christ has of me. The world may see me as someone who struggled or fell or had bad media headlines, but when you realize your identity is in him, that is the key. But it's a constant reminder because I'm very flawed, and it's very tough not to see the headline and get sucked into it and get down a rabbit hole. But it's just realizing that he's got you, he's in control, he has the plan, and he has the ultimate victory.
Yeah. You brought up a couple names that we've seen some public testimonies with. We could also talk about, Donnie Wahlberg has been very outspoken here lately. He and Jenny McCarthy. We have, Sophie Cunningham, the basketball player, recently got baptized. Kat Von D has talked about her faith publicly and conversion. We seem to see more and more public figures and celebrities that are sharing their faith in Christ or coming to faith in Christ. I'd be curious just on your thoughts on what's driving that. Is this, where are we at from an awakening or revival standpoint? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I do have a lot of thoughts on that. And I will tell you this. I think we are on the precipice of a revival. I think hearts are changing. And I think that is because of Charlie Kirk. What happened? Absolutely. That should be applauded. That was a tough day for everyone. We'll never forget September 10th. We'll never forget that horrible, horrible day. And that was pure evil. But the good that has come, the revival that has been unleashed, I see it all the time. I'm constantly on social media. That's where I find my stories. And some of the testimonies I have seen just take my breath away. There was a young woman who said this on TikTok. She said that her mother-in-law had been trying to convince her over and over again that Christ was real, to pick up the Bible, to check it out. She didn't want to do it. And then she heard Charlie Kirk and was listening to his testimony. And she opened the Bible, and what she opened to was John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And she said that changed her. Then I saw another one of a young man, and he was like this big strapping athlete. And he's funny. He's talking in like young person language, like, bro, I was watching these Charlie Kirk videos. And then he said this, then I see a video of Charlie Kirk talking about his faith and bro, straight waterworks, crying like I can't. And he said, I've always been like, that doesn't exist. It's not real. It doesn't make sense. Why do I get so emotional when I got the Bible? Well, I know why that young man's emotional. I'm an evangelical Christian. I can tell you the Holy Spirit is moving in that young man's heart. That is what is happening with that young man. And then one more, another young man said, the spiritual and moral peace that I have seen in the Christian community regarding this whole thing is something that I envy because I am so full of rage and hate and anger. Charlie Kirk might have converted me to Christianity. I have seen so many testimonies like this, and there is something changing in the hearts of young people. And, you can make political change in the world, and that's great. You change things here and there, but then politics change and someone else comes in and everyone has different opinions. But eternal change, Christian change, making heaven crowded is the change that matters. And it's the change that Charlie set off. That is his legacy. And it's one that you're carrying on with this tour.
Yeah. I think about Charlie often, really every day. And, a lot of people didn't understand Charlie. I think, if you didn't follow his work or you were maybe a naysayer on the other side, you thought he was a guy just out there trying to get that viral moment of having the crazy video that, he could share on social media with the team. And he was out there to win hearts. He actually cared about the person on the other side of the mic. He viewed them with dignity. He wanted to hear their voice. He wanted to reason with them. And it, I think about the Apostle Paul and just kind of out there in the marketplace, reasoning day and night with people, really trying to win them over for the gospel. And I think Charlie embodied that, as well as anybody I've ever seen in our generation, at least. And when you're discussing these things, I think there very much is what I would call that Charlie Kirk, and has been called that Charlie Kirk effect. My own church tripled in size within a week after Charlie's memorial.
Wow, that's amazing. And one thing Charlie understood is behind every question is a questioner. Yeah. And I'm borrowing that line from a theologian because that is something that I tried to bring with me to the podium, realizing as hostile as this questioner may be, he or she is a questioner and has a reason for the way they're acting, or there's something animating it or something in their past. And when you really watch Charlie, you see such a gentleness and a kindness and a willingness to listen and engage in civil back and forth and talk to the other side. And we've lost a lot of that. And I think it's something as a nation we've got to get back to, talking to the other side. Some of my best mentors came from the other side of the aisle. I mentioned Van Jones. Alan Combs is another one. You remember Hannity and Combs. Unfortunately, Alan has passed, but he really took time and invested in my career and my life. And that's something Charlie got. He cared about the questioner because he cared about the human and he cared about the soul. Yeah. And he knows that's what God cares about, is the soul. And that was his mission. That was Charlie's mission.
Amen. As that question behind the question thing, I think it's very important as somebody for me who's been pastoring for a really long time. When I'm talking with somebody, that's always what I'm trying to think of is kind of what's driving this thing that they're saying. And I hadn't thought about it. As press secretary, it's very similar to the type of work that Charlie was doing on a campus where you're presenting information, somebody's presenting some sort of question or rebuttal to it, and then you have to kind of see 3 steps ahead to be able to kind of deliver that. I think we need to get you on campuses. I think it's what we might need to do and get you out there a little bit. So I think you'd be good at it.
Yeah, Charlie was great. I heard about all the boards he would create and map it out and like 2-step logic. You're thinking 2 or 3 times ahead. And he was brilliant. And I had the honor of seeing one of his speeches just randomly. We were at the same event, and just his encyclopedic knowledge. Look, I have my notebook at the podium. I had my notebook. Like, I love my notebook and my footnotes, but he had it all right there. And just the fluidity with which he talked about history, theology, philosophy, you could tell so much preparation went in. And amazing to watch.
So let's talk about maybe for the people out here, or maybe people watching on stream as well. And I'm sure with the amount of pushback we've received in Maine about this event, that people have not wanted to see TP USA Faith be here in Maine. I think there's probably going to be some people that are naysayers watching this event. What would you say to the person out here that maybe is watching for either they're not sure what they think, or maybe they're even approaching this antagonistically? what would you say to speak to them about maybe their need for, coming to terms with the God-man, Jesus Christ, in their life?
I would say challenge him and say to Christ, and I say this to anyone, and you have these moments in life, and when you're a Christian, you recognize them, where a few times this has happened to me recently, where I have this feeling in my soul, like, stop what you're doing. This is an important moment. This is a divine appointment. And you feel that, and that's when you've got to stop and talk to that person, whether it's on a live stream, whether it's in your personal interactions, and share your faith and be bold about your faith. And what I tell people is, if you don't think he's real, ask him to show himself to you. Pray earnestly to God, show yourself to me. Another person who I'm very excited to interview is the founder of ELF Makeup. So ELF Makeup, it became this billion-dollar enterprise. In fact, this man's net worth, his name is Vincent, is $3 billion. Well, he prayed that. He prayed, God, and I'm paraphrasing here. I don't know his exact words. I want to hear from you as, living this Hollywood life. He's partying. He's a billionaire. Well, he heard from God, and God said, give away your wealth. And so he gave away his car, and he heard from God, that's not enough. I said, give away your wealth. He gave away his entire net worth. This just happened recently, and he is being ordained as a priest on May 23rd. So
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So, and that may not be God's words to everyone. His words to him were give away your wealth, but ask God to speak to you, and he will. And he will show himself to you, and he will show himself that he is real. If you pray that prayer in earnest, it may not be today, but I promise you, he will reveal himself to you today, next week, within the year. It will happen.
Amen. Amen. Let's do kind of a final thing here. We're almost out of time, but I want to speak into maybe one more group that's here. Let's speak to the people in the room that are believers, or maybe that are watching this, and let's give them kind of a commissioning on being bold in their faith, and just this importance of maybe the spiritual hunger that's here, and the importance of us stepping into for such a time as this moment.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I remember growing up being, this young Southern Baptist girl. We're evangelical in our orientation, and I remember, my pastor saying, my preacher saying, you need to witness to people, and I thought that meant like, I need to talk to the person on the plane, like 100%, like break into whatever they're doing and do this. Like it felt like something that was awkward or not organic or something that I had to do. But I don't think that's it. I think we show people through our actions. And I think when we pray, God will open those doors for you, and he will open them often. Just recently, I had an interaction where someone asked me about my faith, and the door, God will slightly nudge it open, and then it's very easy for you to walk through. Or someone's going through a sickness or a divorce or something, or some trial in life. And it's as simple as using that moment when someone comes to you with the problem to say this, God whispers to you in your pleasures, but he shouts to you in your pain. It's his megaphone to a deaf world. That's a quote from C.S. Lewis. He will use someone's downfall, someone's valley, to allow you to bring them to a peak to find him. And so all of you in this room, the same way that, Van Jones and my dad said to me, you're here for such a time as this. That is a message for all of you, whether you yourself are in a valley or a peak, a believer, a non-believer. He's going to use your moment for such a time as this, and he will either reveal himself to you or use you to reveal him to someone through you. So just be bold, be courageous, recognize those moments, and with gentleness, kindness, and respect, share your faith, and people will be open to it. And sometimes the last thing I'll say is this: you're a piece of the puzzle and you don't know it, because the conversation I had recently, the person shared with me, do you know this other person said this to me and prayed with me and how much it meant to me? And I went to the other person and they go, I didn't know that meant something to them. So sometimes you're a piece of the puzzle and you don't even realize it. So just know that, use those moments to point to him, and that's it. That's what we're commanded to do as believers.
Amen. Great advice here. Let's give it up for Kaylee. Thank you so much.
That was a good interview with Kaylee. We haven't heard her in a while. Hey, that puts us right at the 3-hour mark. All right, so we'll be back. See how things go. I might do 7, not 6. I don't know. See what things I get done with the next couple hours here. Around 7 probably. So, thanks, mods. Hey, Lucy, Carol, Flagel, and Tim. Everybody have a good dinner today. And we'll see you after dinner time. How about everybody? Love all. Remember, please like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. Signing out. Chico Do for show number 1 on a Sunday the 31st. Tomorrow will be June 1st. And we'll see you soon.